From the Superdome, it's the Cincinnati Bengals versus the New Orleans Saints. Today's game is brought to you by Mazda and the full line of sophisticated Mazda products. By Bud Light, the less filling light beer with a first name in taste. And by Manville. Manville quality products make your house a home.
After a dismal start, the Cincinnati Bengals have come on to win 5 of their last 7 ball games, and amazingly now find themselves in a position to overhaul the Pittsburgh Steelers in the AFC Central Division and go to the playoffs. Last week, the Bengals kept their flickering title hopes alive on this dramatic last-second play. Boomer Esiason rolling out, finding Anthony Munoz on a tackle-eligible play in the end zone, forcing an overtime, the Bengals on to a victory. The New Orleans Saints, meanwhile, behind Dave Wilson in relief of Richard Todd, throwing 3 touchdown passes, a losing role, however, against the Los Angeles Rams. Hello, everyone. I'm Gary Gerald, along with Harvey Martin. Today in the Superdome in New Orleans, the Saints do battle with the Bengals. Playoff implications clearly in a must-win situation for Cincinnati. And also a matchup, Harvey, of 2 outstanding young quarterbacks. How do you assess their chances and how they'll respond to this challenge?
Well, you know, I really like quarterbacks, Gary, and Boomer Esiason is a very good, young, strong, tall quarterback. He's 6'4". He can see everything. He hit Anthony Munoz last week in the last-second touchdown pass, and he really has some sort of a cool. But I really like Dave Wilson. Dave Wilson, after last week's game against the Rams, came up to the press and said, hey, why can't I start? Why can't I play? We have 2 games to go. The Saints are out. I need to play. I need some game experience. Ron Phillips said, okay, he's starting today, and we'll see how he does.
Well, across the way, Sam White has indicated that if Boomer Esiason can't get the job done for his ball club, Ken Anderson, who has been sidelined with a multitude of injuries this season, will be able to come on and do the job. You see White exhorting his troops, and of course on the near sideline, the familiar pose of Bum Phillips, calmly surveying the scene. His ball club now rounding out the season. 6-8 record on both ball clubs as we're underway in the Superdome. Tyrone Anthony from the 3-yard line. A little bit of running room out across the 20, down at about the 22-yard line before he's bumped down. And the Saints will put the ball in play. Jeff Shue making the tackle after a 20-yard return by Anthony. We look at the Saints in the offensive backfield. Dave Wilson, of course, gets the start. George Rogers, Hokie Gajan, they love him here on the Superdome. Grote, Young, and Renner are the receivers. A lot of shuffling has been going on in an offensive line that has really been racked by injuries this season. Incredible numbers of today has Steve Court starting at center rather than at right guard. Louis Obrey, who has missed much of the season, now back in action at the right guard position. 1st and 10, first play of the ball game. Dave Wilson getting his club set and back to throw on 1st down. Way overthrown on the far sideline. Tyrone Young over there, the intended receiver, but the cornerback Ray Horton over there providing the coverage, along with Lewis Breeden. Defensively for the Bengals, the 3 down linemen up front, Edwards, Crumry, and Browner. The linebacking core, Jeff Shue, Simpkins, Cameron, Reggie Williams. Hard hitter on the right side. The cornerbacks, Breeden and Horton. Safeties are Kemp and Jackson. 2nd and 10, ball at the 23. Hokie Gajan across the 25 to the 26-yard line. Eddie Edwards making the tackle. Gajan with a 6.5-yard rushing average coming into this contest after 14 games this season. He is one tough hombre.
Yeah, he is that. He's also the Saints MVP, Gary. He's the guy that they look forward to get the tough yards, and he actually, like you said, has the best average per carry in the whole NFL.
Picked up 4 that time. John Simmons comes in now as a 5th defensive back. 3rd down situation, anticipating the pass. Bengals in a must-win situation. Of course, they're going to be keeping a close ear attuned to what's going on up north today in the battle between Pittsburgh and Cleveland. Wilson with time fires, completes the pass. Hobie Brenner at the 39-yard line has the 1st down. Ray Griffin with the tackle. And that time, Wilson right on the money as we take another look at the first pass completion of the afternoon.
Big Hobie Brenner's lining up at the regular tight end position. Just goes right across the middle. Does a very good job with that. Good reception. His 25th reception of the season.
12-yard gain makes it 1st down at the 39-yard line. Wilson, of course, played his collegiate ball at Illinois, involved in a bit of a controversy there over a period of time. Established a number of NC2A and Big Ten records. Getting a start based on a performance last week with 3 touchdown passes against the Rams. Straight ahead, a couple of yards to the 41-yard line. George Rogers churning ahead. Center of the defensive line led by Ryan Edwards to make the tackle at the 41, the 42. The ball will be spotted down. We'll take a look at the statistics on the year for George Rogers. Needs to average somewhere in the vicinity of 75 yards plus, around 80 yards a game. These remaining 2 ball games to get his 1,000 for the season.
Gary, the strange thing about George Rogers is George Rogers has, like you said, 832 yards, but his longest run of the year has been 28 yards. And for a running back of his stature, it seems like he should break some longer than that.
2nd and 7. Ball at the 42. Brenner, the motion back. And a blitz by the Bengals. They pick it up, however. Pass completed to Jean across midfield. And out of bounds at the 42-yard line. Offensive line for the Saints doing a terrific job of picking up the blitz. Louis Breeden finally made the tackle.
That's just a blitz coming in. Oh, it's a real good lick in the end there. It's real good. Oh.
Some serious hitting.
That's some serious hitting there. It's a defensive lineman. I like stuff like that. It's a blitz coming in. Wilson reads it pretty well. Throws it right out to Hoagie, and Hoagie's gone down the sideline. He's just rushed right over Breeden. Strong running back.
That's why they love him here in the New Orleans area. Hoagie Jean with a first down, 16 yards gain. The ball at the Bengals 42. Growth this time in motion, top of the screen. George Rogers has room on the corner. Rogers trips down at the 35. Had a little more running room that was tripped up. Looked like that might open up for some pretty decent yards that time, but you see Rogers calmly coming back as we take a look at his career statistics, and in 4 years he's accomplished a lot. 7-yard pickup.
Looked like George might break a long one, but he stumbled over the turf.
Wayne Wilson coming into the lineup now for the Saints. Wilson has been plagued by a turf toe, number 30. Wilson also with some pretty decent numbers this year. He is last year's MVP for the offensive squad for the Saints. Wilson straight ahead. Has the first down and a lot more as he's down close to the 25-yard line. Wayne Wilson powering his way up the middle. Kemp and Jackson with the tackle.
Wayne Wilson's a guy that they really miss with the sprained toe. The turf toe hurt him a lot. Oh, it's just the counter play or the draw play. He just picks his way through. Very important running back for St. Louis, for the New England Saints.
Kelvin Clark with a nice block in the right tackle position, opening up that hole that time for Wayne Wilson. Makes it first down. Saints on the move at the Cincinnati 25-yard line. Wilson in trouble, gets the pass away, completes the pass. Brenner at the 22-yard line. And a lot of poise there by Wayne Wilson, but they may bring it back. They may rule that he was in the grasp.
Yeah, they rule he's in the grasp.
Take a look at the pass rush that Cincinnati provided once again. Good penetration, and Wilson did a fine job of scrambling, Harvey.
Yeah, he did. They can see Ross Browner coming in the outside. Eddie Edwards coming over. Oh, Ross Browner gets him right across the head. They didn't see that play, but he was going down. I think it's a good rule.
Loss of 9 yards. Fans here in the Superdome, some expect about 53,000 today, voicing their disapproval. Glenn Collins now in as a 4th down lineman for the Bengals. And John Simmons comes in as the nickel back. 2nd and 19 after that loss of 9. Whistles.
Yep.
And penalty marker down. Apparently too much time. Ran out of time.
Delay of game offense, number 18, 5-yard penalty, still second down.
Gene Barth giving us the indication. We'll be hearing from him throughout the course of the afternoon as he keeps us on top of the situation below us here on the Superdome. 6 and 8 season records for both of these ball clubs coming in. Dave Wilson has been driving his club, but that sack, even though he scrambled away and completed the pass, has momentarily slowed the New Orleans drive. Wilson steps up, fires down, deep pass intended for Growth at the 15, incomplete. Growth was down there along with Robert Jackson. Jackson number 37. providing the coverage. Jeff Groth has caught 28 footballs this year. He's still looking for his first touchdown pass, so now it's going to be 3rd and long for New Orleans.
Robert Jackson made a real good play on that time. Groth had sort of lulled the defensive backs to sleep and turn around. It had to be a timing play because the ball was right there. It was sort of strange position, and Jackson was right there to knock the ball down. I'll tell you what, I like Wilson, the way he's starting the game out, Gary. He's started the game out with a pass. He threw it on over the sideline, and now he's connected.
3rd and 24. Ball back at the 39-yard line. Here comes the blitz once again. Wilson sets up the screen, dumps it off to Anthony. Bengals, however, read it beautifully, and there to make the tackle was Ross Browner, who was not fooled.
Ross Browner did a real good job on that. He's doing what a defensive lineman is supposed to do. Whenever the ball is thrown in a screen pass, he's supposed to stop rushing and pursue. That time he was able to stop the Saints.
Well, the Bengals gave up a lot of yardage there in the early moments, but then they muscled up and have now forced a punting situation. We get our first look at Brian Hansen, an outstanding punter. Back number 1 in the NFC, number 4 in the NFL this year. Mike Martin in the deep spot now for Cincinnati.
Sioux Falls College.
The average of nearly 45 yards per boot. Angling for the sideline. Let's see if he gets the corner or not. It goes into the end zone. It'll be brought back out to the 20-yard line. So a 39-yard punt from the line of scrimmage. 9:55 left to play here in the first quarter. We're at the Superdome. No score. Cincinnati will have the ball when we come back. Back at the Superdome in New Orleans, Gary Gerald along with Harvey Martin getting our first look now at the Cincinnati Bengals offensive unit led by Boomer Esiason, the rookie quarterback from the University of Maryland, 6'4", 220 pounds, setting his ball club. Involved in that storybook finish last weekend with a victory against the Cleveland Browns that kept the Bengals playoff hopes alive. Alexander trying the left side, getting about 3 yards out to about the 23-yard line. Jim Kovach there to make the tackle for the New Orleans Saints. Take a look at the starting lineup now for the Cincinnati Bengals. Boomer Esiason, the rookie, indicated by the white lettering. Alexander starting in place of Larry Kinnebrew. Kinnebrew has a foot problem, an arch injury today. Brian Blados, the rookie starter at left guard. Munoz, of course, who caught that key touchdown pass. His time expired last week against Cleveland to force the overtime. Here's Brooks, the speedster, with a hole out to the 30-yard line, perhaps across. Looks like he may have the first down. Frank Watlet making the tackle as we check the defensive alignment now for the Saints. 1st and 10 for the Bengals. The down linemen, Bruce Clark, Tony Elliott, and Jim Wilkes. Clark, the MVP on the defensive crew this year for the Saints. Your linebacking core of Jackson, Winston, Kovach, and Paul. And the deep backs at the corners, Dave Waymer and Johnny Poe. Russell Gary and Frank Watlet play the safety position. First down, Cincinnati at their own 31-yard line. No score early in the going at the Superdome. Chris Collinsworth, injured, will not be playing today. Esiason's first pass almost picked off. The intended receiver out of the backfield was Brooks. Frank Watlet was there. Made a dive at midfield. Couldn't come up with it.
I think Boomer threw the ball a little too high for Brooks. Brooks was a little bit taller. He'd have caught that.
See his performance of last week, and he came in relief of Turk Schoenert. Schoenert, we understand, released from the hospital yesterday. His season, of course, ending a bit prematurely. 2nd and 10, ball at the 31-yard line.
You notice something, Gary? Both quarterbacks, young quarterbacks, first passes were way over the receivers' heads.
Check this score. Cleveland with a field goal on top of Pittsburgh. Cincinnati fans love to hear that. Cleveland leading 3-0 early. Esiason down the middle, ball incomplete. Kreider starting in place of Chris Collinsworth, the intended receiver. Waymer is there with the coverage. Kreider was the number 2 receiver for this ball club last year. Has only caught 12 balls this year. Has had a hamstring injury through much of the season. Last week, you see, he came up with 6 big receptions for good yardage against the Browns.
With Chris Collinsworth out, Kreider becomes a very important person. He really has some big shoes to fill.
Collinsworth was hurt in the first play of last week's ball game against the Browns. 3rd down, 10, ball to 31. For the far sideline. Pass thrown out there, intended for Isaac Curtis, but again overthrown, and so a punting situation now for Cincinnati. Frank Watlick providing the defensive coverage. Get a look at Pat McAnally now for his first punt of the afternoon, averaging 42.1 yards for the season. His long this year has been 61 yards. Hasn't had any block. Hope you had an opportunity to read the story in Sports Illustrated this past week, written by John Garrity, relating to Pat McAnally. Most interesting article. Driving the kick deep. Jitter Fields at the 23-yard line. Fields across the 30, still on his feet. Penalty marker down, however, as Jitter Fields gets out to the 34, and he can make things happen.
I know, Jitter Fields reminds me of Jitterbug when he runs. That's why it's a nickname, Jitterbug Fields.
We watch him come off. Guy Frazier made the special teams tackle. Penalty marker, of course, down, as we indicated, and we'll be getting the call here from Gene Barth. Looks like this one may go back because we see the Saints backing up.
Illegal block above the waist, number 28 during the run back. 10-yard penalty, first down.
How many times this year have you heard that call, Harvey? Boy,
I'll tell you what, though, that's a good call, because lots of times a lot of people would get cut below the knees and hurt some knees.
No score in New Orleans. We'll be right back. The fifth meeting between the Bengals and the Saints. First quarter action here in the Superdome. 8:11 to go. No score in this contest. New Orleans with their second possession after a 49-yard punt. First and 10. Ball at their own 17. Jeff Groth motion back. Handoff goes to Edwards, and he gets across the 20 to about the 22-yard lines. Let's go to New York now and update other activity around the NFL.
All right, Gary, at Three Rivers, the Browns had apparently taken the lead over the Steelers with this fake field goal run in by kicker Matt Barr. But Tom Cousineau, number 50, was called for holding. So Cleveland ultimately had to settle for the field goal. They lead it 3-0.
Very important ball game, and Cleveland on top by a field goal now over the Steelers. The Steelers with a one-game advantage over the Bengals. After a pickup of 6, second and 4. Oki Gaijan looking for room out close to the 24, 25-yard line before he's bottled up. Ross Browner making the tackle.
I'll tell you what happened the last play. Dave Wilson was having a problem getting the ball from the centers. You notice, probably this is because he hasn't played that much, and it's the game experience. This is what he asked for, and this is what he's getting. He has to hold on to the snap.
Well, you also got Steve Court, who we had anticipated starting at right guard, starting at center today. A last-minute change.
That's really got to hurt Wilson's concentration with getting the snap, and he's worked out with somebody different all week long.
From the 24-yard line, it's now 3rd and 3. See what young Dave Wilson comes up with here. Movement on the defensive line. Penalty marker is down. Anthony being chased back at the 20, and he'll go down at the 19-yard line. But that penalty marker, of course, obvious after the movement up there in the defensive line. New York Giants leading St. Louis 7-zip. That's another big ball game. Phil Simms to Lionel Manuel, 5 yards for a touchdown. And Kansas City with a 7-point lead over Seattle.
Number 73 offside. It'll be a first down.
Eddie Edwards offside for the Bengals. That makes it first down for the Saints. Moves the ball out to the 29-yard line.
A real smart play by Wilson, knowing that if he changes up his voice when he calls the snaps, a lot of times defensive linemen will listen to the cadence of the quarterback. And if you change your cadence, you can catch him. I'm not saying defensive linemen are dumb or nothing, but
Harvey, have you ever been caught?
A lot of times, but I always argue.
Put on the show. From the 29, 1st and 10. Wilson back to throw. Dumps it off to Gaijan. Right side. Has some room. Into the secondary. Out to the 37, the 38-yard line. Oki Gaijan, who's caught 27 balls coming into this ball game. Picking up good yardage out close to first down. Simpkins and Cameron with the tackle. We take a look from ground level.
Hokie just slips out. If you saw to the top of your screen, just slips out on the right side and gets a pass. It's like a delay. He has blockers in front of him. As you see Big George coming in, block somebody, George. And Hokie just lowers his head and goes right on close to the first down.
Quick 9-yard gain takes it out to the 38-yard line. The Saints behind Wilson have been moving the football. action fake, now firing deep down the far side. Louis Breeden had a chance to pick that one off. Couldn't get back there quite. Jeff Groth, the intended receiver, but Wilson off target that time. Breeden, who has 4 interceptions this year, gave chase. Looked for a moment like he might have an opportunity to catch up to the football, but could not for Cincinnati.
Wilson looks like he was a little upset with himself on that pass. I don't know if it was his fault or the receiver's fault. When you have a new quarterback, you really don't know. If he'd been a veteran quarterback and it would have been the receiver's fault, you would have been screaming at the receiver.
Dave Wilson, 25 years of age. Boomer Esiason, who is handling the duties for Cincinnati today, age 23. Third down, short yardage situation, straight ahead. George Rogers. Watch him untangle, the indication of the first down at the 40-yard line. No score in this contest. Crumry and Boyarski there to make the tackle, but not before Rogers picked up the necessary yardage. At the 40, 1st and 10. 5.5 minutes remaining here in our first quarter in the Superdome in this scoreless ball game. Must-win situation for the Bengals. Here's Bum Phillips taking a look here on the sidelines. Only 4 years ago came to this ball club from Houston. Rogers with the pitch out. Out close to midfield at the 48-yard line. Cameron this time with the tackles. We get a good close-up look at George Rogers in action.
George Rogers, ex-Heisman Trophy winner, excellent running back, great vision, great speed, and a lot of power. He's trying to get his 30,000-yard season this year. Sort of strange with George not actually getting that 1,000 yards. He's got 2 games to do it, and he needs to average, as you said, Gary, between 75 and 80 yards a game to come up with that.
We're watching Tyrone Anthony limping off the field here, being assisted by one of the trainers. Here's a rookie running back. In fact, designated this past week by his team members as Rookie of the Year for the Saints, and he's going to have to get some emergency aid here on the near sideline, obviously in a bit of discomfort. 2nd and 2 at the 48. Gaijan, first down and more into Cincinnati territory at the 43-yard line. Hokie Gaijan with a first down. Let's check other activity now as we go to New York for this update.
Gary, a bit of a surprise in the Hoosier Dome as the Colts have taken the early lead over Miami. After a Dolphin fumble, Mike Pagel hits Ray Butler in the end zone. Play covers 5 yards, and it's 7-0. Colts lead the Dolphins.
Well, indeed, that is a surprise. The Colts on top of Miami. Dan Marino crank up that miracle arm and see what happens. That'll be very interesting in that ball game at the Hoosier Dome. Gaijan picking up the first down for the Saints. Now at the Bengal 43-yard line. Picked up 9 yards in that last carry. Wilson looking long, firing, and again, way over the target. And downfield, taking a look back, Tyrone Young, as if to say, what in the world happened that time?
Tyrone Young looked like he was pulling out on an outside pass pattern. All right, Ross Brown is taking an inside move. Oh, is Williams coming in? Oh, Eddie Edwards just knocked him right down.
Indeed.
Big Eddie.
Wilson lying there for a moment to think about that one as Edwards, who goes 6'5", 256, comes in there. We understand that Anthony bruised his leg. He will return, so no major problem for Tyrone Anthony. See the indication of 2nd and 10 now for the Saints in Cincinnati territory. Scoreless ball game in this first quarter. Running room for Wayne Wilson. He'll get to the 40-yard line. Looks like that's going to be it as they bump him back to the 41. Bobby Kemp coming up with coverage from the strong safety position for the Cincinnati Bengals.
I really like Wayne Wilson. He comes in, does a real good job for him. They actually missed him when he had his turf toe problem, and playing on an artificial turf, if you've never had the problem, you don't know what it feels like. You have to get your foot taped, your toe taped, and everything taped, and he's doing pretty well with that type of injury.
Pickup of 4, going to make it 3rd and 6. Cincinnati sending in the nickel defensive back now, anticipating the pass situation for young Dave Wilson. Wilson with 3 touchdown passes against the Rams last week in relief of Richard Todd. Wilson scrambling, now fires, and the pass is knocked away. Reggie Williams with good defensive coverage downfield. Wayne Wilson out of the backfield. I wonder if Wilson actually was able to see the football, because it looked like Williams got great position. Let's take a look.
What Williams did was actually look in Wayne Wilson's eyes and turn right around. A receiver makes an expression before he gets the ball. That's how they coach the defensive backs and linebackers, is to look in his eyes. And when he looks, you look. And that's exactly what he did.
So Brian Hansen in to punt, his last one going 39 yards into the end zone for a touchback. Mike Martin is the lone safety now for the Cincinnati Bengals. Second time we're seeing Hansen punt. Trying to line one for the corner. Looks like a good boot. Not going to make it. Tried to get it down there in the corner, but just missed into the end zone. It'll be brought back out to the 20, and you see a bit of disgust being registered by Brian Hansen. 2.5 minutes to go here in the first quarter. Still no score between Cincinnati and the Saints. Penalty marker down in the end zone. You see the players here on the near sideline taking a good look, and now the officials conferring. Yeah, we're just waiting to see now what Gene Barth will come up with.
Yeah, looking eligible.
Yeah, we'll see. Here's the indication.
A man was out of bounds and was first to touch the ball. Penalty refused. First down from the 20.
Okay.
He was knocked out of bounds.
Can't come back in. So, we'll break away. We'll be back with more action from the Superdome in just a moment. We're keeping an eye on these young quarterbacks. Wilson has been fairly impressive. They moved the football. No points on the board, however.
No points on the board. I think both quarterbacks are a little jittery right now. Passes are sort of getting caught by the people in the stands right now.
Well, it's Boomer Esiason's turn now. We'll see if he can come up with anything as far as the Bengals are concerned. First and 10 at the 20-yard line. Inside handoff, Charles Alexander getting out close to the 25-yard line. Pickup of about 5 on that play. Making the tackle is Jim Wilkes for the Saints. Charles Alexander getting a start in place of Larry Kinnebrew. Kinnebrew has been the big ground gainer with about 548 yards this season for Cincinnati, but he's had problems with the arch in his foot. We watch Alexander now go off on the far side. And we'll get our first look at Kinnebrew in the backfield. Kinnebrew straight ahead. He'll have a first down, or very close to it, out to the 30-yard line before Bruce Clark can muscle him down. He has the first down just across the 30 at the 31. So Kinnebrew's first run proves to be a good one for Cincinnati.
You know, Kinnebrew's 252 pounds, as you can tell it right here. He's a real good running back. I saw him in the locker room before the game. He looks like a guard. He's big and strong.
He's a big fellow. He had, of course, 4 touchdowns in an outstanding performance against Houston earlier this year. Stanford Jennings now replaces James Brooks as the other setback. So a new tandem here operating behind Boomer Esiason. Jennings, a couple of yards to about the 33-yard line. Stanford Jennings, rookie from Furman. Center of the defensive line, Clark and Wilkes spearheading the surge there to make the tackle. Pickup of 2 makes it 2nd and 8. You get a look at Jennings' numbers thus far this season. A healthy average per carry, almost 5 yards. Inside the 1-minute mark now in the first quarter. Brooks now back in, teaming with Jennings, as Coach Sam White continues to make a lot of substitutions offensively. Esiason getting good protection, fires, pass is incomplete at the 40-yard line. M.L. Harris, the tight end, the intended receiver. Linebacker Dennis Winston was there to provide the coverage.
Dennis Winston, he's an excellent linebacker. Early, he leads the team in tackles, 140 tackles.
Had a good season. Good look at Esiason. You were able to hear him as they come up to the line of scrimmage each time, getting good audio from down along the sidelines here as he calls out those signals, still looking to complete his first pass of the afternoon. 3rd and 8, ball at the 33. Let's listen to Esiason now. Little pump fake now rolling out to the left. He's going to keep the football. He'll be short of the first down. Gets out close to the 40-yard line. a penalty marker down. Miami has come back to even things very quickly against the Colts. 7-7 ball game now in the first quarter. And the indication from Gene Barth, a little extracurricular activity there.
I don't know if that was a little extracurricular activity or not, Gary. It seemed like they're protecting the quarterback a little bit too much on that play. Now, I'm not going all out after the quarterback.
Unnecessary roughness, 25 on a late hit, 15 yards.
Well, the people here in the Dome certainly don't agree. Johnny Poe, the right cornerback, number 25, guilty of the infraction in the estimation of the officials. Let's take another look at it.
Yeah, I really don't think it is. See, Boomer's stepping out right. Then there comes Johnny Poe. Now, Johnny had already committed to going after Boomer before he stepped out.
Well, I'll tell you, I have to agree with you, Harvey. I go along with the fans here in the Dome. That's a tough one. They're not happy. Cincinnati folks love it, however. The ball now in the Saints territory for the first time. Brooks, left side, nowhere to go. Excellent penetration over there by Whitney Paul.
Whitney Paul. Well, Whitney Paul every year goes to the NFL arm wrestling championships, and he wins the lightweight division.
You know, I was interested. I noticed that at Colorado and in college, he was a 6'10" high jumper. Now, that tells you something about Whitney Paul's athletic ability as we count down the final seconds here of the first quarter of the Superdome. Still no score in New Orleans between the Bengals and the Saints. We'll be back in just a moment. Superdome, you take a look at the first quarter statistics. 81 total yards for the Saints as opposed to 31 for the Bengals. Still no score in this contest, however. Time of possession heavily in favor of New Orleans. But Cincinnati's defense is muffled up on both necessary occasions and forced the punt. The Bengals now with the football for the first time in Saints territory. Esiason firing down the middle. Ball tipped away. Beautiful play by Dave Waymer. Boy, he stretched out there and knocked that one away. Steve Kreider was the intended receiver. We'll take a look at Kreider coming downfield.
Kreider's working Johnny Poe. He gets him turning, goes across, and Waymer just comes right across and makes an excellent play on the ball.
Kreider had that step. Esiason saw him, tried to get the ball there, but Dave Waymer with an outstanding defensive effort to tip it away.
Dave stretched pretty far for that.
3rd and 10. Ball at the 45-yard line. Pittsburgh now on top of Cleveland. 7-3 is that one. Malone going to Lewis Lipp, 61 yards. Some excitement at Three Rivers. Some excitement here as Esiason keeps the football and goes out of bounds across the way. They had him scrambling for dear life that time, Harvey.
And Boomer has yet to get any passing yards so far today.
Got to be just a little bit frustrated at this point. Take a look at this one. New England hanging in there. The Patriots still have flickering hopes of getting into the playoffs. They lead 10-7. Eason to Stanley Morgan, a 9-yard touchdown pass to make it a 10-7 ball game. Pat McInally coming on now in a punting situation for Cincinnati, and Jitter Fields is standing back in the vicinity of the 10-yard line. McInally's only punt of the afternoon was good for 49 yards. Oh, he hits a beauty. Looking for the corner down there. The ball hits at the 1, but it goes into the end zone. It'll be brought back out. So it'll be at the 20-yard line after a 42-yard McInally punt. Still no score between Cincinnati and New Orleans. Well, what a battle it's been in the AFC Western Division this year. That'll be a big one coming up next Saturday on NBC. You won't want to miss it. Earl Campbell in the ball game for the first time, and he has the football. 5-yard gain for Earl. He's only carried the ball once in the last 2 ball games, and he went right inside, got himself 5 yards. Steve Court up there with a good block. Jeff Shue and Ron Simpkins finally making the tackle.
Just goes right inside Cromride. Cromride's just looking for him, and he reaches, and Earl's by him. You have to adjust your defense when Earl Campbell comes into the ball game. He's a totally different runner, dangerous runner when he's healthy.
6-yard pickup for the man who has had such incredible stats over his career in the National Football League. Okay, Guy John, and the first time today that Guy John has found no place to go. Stacked up by Tim Crumry. Crumry says, well, you may muscle me out of the way one time, but that's going to be it. He comes back and puts the hammer down on Gajan.
You know, Crumry is number 2 in tackles for the whole Bengals defense, and he's the nose tackle. That means he's all over the field. The guys, yesterday we were talking in a meeting, and they were talking about the player that impresses them most on defense in Cincinnati, and it's Crumry.
Saints have converted twice in third down situations in 4 attempts. They're faced with another third down situation right now. Wilson has growth in motion. Here's Tyrone Anthony. Loses the football. It's free at the 27-yard line. Let's wait and see who gets it back. Bengals, Browner indicating that there's no question, but the scramble in that pile down there is still plenty fierce.
Yep. Cincinnati's wrong.
It's a Cincinnati football. Tyrone Anthony came around the corner and lost the football on a hit from Bobby Kemp.
You see Tyrone Anthony's thigh pads right here? Well, Tyrone, the ball hit his thigh pads, and he went out the game with a thigh injury, so you see the ball bounce right out.
Yeah, we'll see whether or not the Bengals can capitalize on the turnover after these messages. Look at the turnover ratio for both ball clubs. Updated now. The turnover here by the Saints. Their difference -16 of the year. The Bengals -3. And right now, Cincinnati with their first genuine scoring opportunity of the afternoon. Kennebrew trying to muscle his way ahead for a couple of tough yards, but the defense is right there to greet him head on. Let's go to New York as updates other activity now on a busy day in the NFL.
All right, Gary, the game of interest to the Bengals in Pittsburgh. The Steelers have struck right back against the Browns, trailing 3-0. Mark Malone pumps and airs it out to Lewis Lips. The play covers 61 yards, the 11th touchdown of the year for Lips. That ties Franco Harris's Steeler rookie touchdown record, 7-3.
Oh, what an exciting performer Lewis Lips is. We saw him on a couple of occasions this year. He is a good one.
He doesn't play like a rookie.
Big ball game. Oh, Esiason on the back of his pants, hands off to Brooks. Can you believe that? Brooks loses the football, gathers it back. He hit the ground, but boy, you can see now a lot of intensity, a lot of emotion out here right now. James Brooks got the handoff from Esiason, who was flat on his back. Let's take another look at an unusual play.
What happened? Boomer, Dave Remington stepped on Boomer's foot, and Boomer couldn't get back, and he just got up and handed the ball to James Brooks, and they just kept the play running. Now, that's concentration.
Jim Wiltz in there with a good hard lick, number 94.
See dirt coming.
They gained 3 yards in the play.
They did. That's good concentration.
Ball at the 23-yard line. Third down and 6. Esiason been struggling a bit, trying to get the offense generated. Still looking to complete his first pass of the afternoon. As Alexander is the lone setback as he drops back to throw. Under pressure. Penalty marker is down and incomplete at the 20-yard line. Across the way, Steve Kreider doing a little complaining. He thought perhaps he was bumped from behind, but it looks like a hold is going to be the indication here against the Bengals.
That had to be a lot of holds, Gary. There's too many black jerseys coming in. A lot of guys were open, and a lot of guys went back all of a sudden.
Checking scores, Seattle and Kansas City now even up.
Holding,
Craig
52 offense, 10-yard penalty, third down.
Tampa Bay leading Atlanta. Boy, the Falcons are really struggling, aren't they? Second quarter. Let's take a look at Kreider on this last route now. Watch the very tail end of the pass pattern.
Greg Griffin's just all over him. Yeah.
That's Dave Waymer out there.
Dave Waymer. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think Kreider had a legitimate beef on that occasion, but got no penalty marker.
Yeah.
Esiason dumps it off, completes the pass at the 40-yard line, and down at the 34, Rodney Holman, the tight end. And so the Saints defense, led by Whitney Paul, doing the job.
Now, Whitney Paul is a high school high jumping champion, arm wrestler, and excellent linebacker.
Well, we'll get our first look at Jim Breach coming on now. Here's the man that won the ball game last week after that miracle tackled eligible pass forced the overtime. Breach nailed the field goal, the second game winner of the season against the Cleveland Browns. He was 20 of 28 this year. Long is 48 yards. He's hit 13 of his last 15. This will be a 50-yard attempt by Jim Breach. It's not going to get there. Not quite. Well, his long this year, 48s. He tried for 50, and he came up just a yard or two short. Let's take another look here as Jim Breach nails one. we watch his reaction. Hoping it's not there. More football from New Orleans in a moment.
Today's game is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz, engineered like no other car in the world. By Stroh's and Stroh Life, fire brewed for smoother taste. And by Atra from Gillette, the essence of shaving.
At the 32-yard line, the New Orleans Saints will put the ball in play. Wilson, the quarterback, 4 out of 9 for 32 yards. Esiason has been struggling. The Bengals had a turnover opportunity, but they couldn't capitalize. Still scoreless here. Big Earl Campbell gets a couple out across the 35 to the 37-yard line.
Look at Crumry, and Crumry is just, he stands up the center, plays off the center, comes right in on the play with Earl Campbell. That's the way those tackles should play.
Ball moved out to the 37-yard line where it'll be second down. Checking scores, Pittsburgh 10-3 over Cleveland. Gary Anderson adding a 40-yard field goal. The Giants and St. Louis. St. Louis coming back. Lomax to Tilley, 4 yards, making that a 7-7 ball game. Running room this time for Earl Campbell, and running with authority out to the 45-yard line. Brad Edelman with a good block out front. Bobby Kemp with a tackle for the Bengals.
Earl Campbell, well, he hasn't played much since he became a New Orleans Saints, and he's playing well today.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, it's a trap play, and he's just coming right at us. Suppose you're defensive back and you're looking up at Earl Campbell. He just run over you and peel you off like he did that back.
233 pounds, plus a reputation that's been built over nearly 7 full seasons as one of the toughest, meanest guys carrying a football. He really comes at you.
Runs like a car.
Good look that time. First down for the Saints. They've been moving the football. Still no score, however. Play action fake. Wilson wants to throw. Down the middle. Complete. No, knocked away. Intercepted. Shue ends up with a football. Jeff Shue ends up with a football for the Bengals. Hobie Brenner had it in his hands and couldn't hang on.
Great play.
So another break for Cincinnati.
Wilson's looking. He sees his man. He picks him right out and he throws the ball. He catches it and gets knocked up in the air.
I want to remind you, December 22nd, Georgia versus Florida. The Florida Citrus Bowl on NBC. Well, we're getting our first look at Kenny Anderson, who has replaced Boomer Esiason for the first time in a month now since Anderson suffered a left shoulder injury against Pittsburgh. He goes immediately to work across midfield. The pass is complete to M.L. Harris, but a penalty marker is down. We're going to go to New York as they sort out the penalty for this NFL 84 update.
All right, Gary, in Kansas City, Seattle has used a trick play to tie things up against the Chiefs. Dave Craig to David Hughes, back to Craig. He hits Darrell Turner, the rookie out of Michigan State. The play goes 49 yards. That's the 30th touchdown pass of the year for Craig. They're locked at 7.
Well, some razzle-dazzle in that ball game to even things up. Anderson coming in here for Cincinnati, going to the air. Boomer Esiason, we see him across the way, standing with hands on hips. 1 for 6 in his action thus far. And Sam White told us before the ball game, Harvey, that he wouldn't be afraid to bring Anderson in if Boomer couldn't get things ignited.
Bruce Clark's a little bit in a hurry.
Holding penalty, incidentally, on that last call.
By the quarterback with a head bob. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Now, there's one that you don't hear that often, that they call that often.
Yeah, I know. Most of the time you get quarterbacks saying that they can do that. You know, I'm one for the defensive lineman. I knew the lineman was right.
I want to make indication on the previous penalty. When we broke away to New York, it was Mike Wilson who was guilty of a holding call. So the ball now with this penalty is clear back at the 25-yard line. First and 25. The Bengals have been stuttering here in the first half. In trouble. Anderson down at the 13-yard line. Ricky Jackson just looped in there from the inside, being congratulated by his teammates, and the Bengals are in a real hole.
Ricky Jackson's #1 defensive player here in New Orleans. He just comes right inside. It's a screen. It was a screen. The running back did not block Ricky.
Right.
Ricky just came right on by.
James Brooks made a token effort, which is what you do when you set up the screen, and Jackson just said thank you.
Well, you know, it's a token effort if it's anybody but Ricky Jackson. Ricky Jackson he will get the sack. That's his 10th of the season.
10th sack of the year. Ball back at the 15. Second and 35 after a loss of 10. Alexander to the 24-yard line, and the Saints bottle him up there. That's about 9 of it back. Harry Hogue with the tackle, leading the defensive charge.
I was talking to Ricky Jackson a couple of days ago, and he was saying that he wanted to get a couple sacks this week and a couple sacks next week, try to bring his average up to about 15 for this season. He wants to make 200 tackles. He has a lot of enthusiasm about his ball play. He says that he's all over the field, and he likes playing like that. The people thought he might be a little bit disappointed because the Saints weren't winning, but Ricky still keeps playing.
3rd down. As you can see, the Bengals need a bundle. Anderson trying to go after it. This time has a little more protection. Pass is dropped at the 44-yard line. David Verser had it in his hands, couldn't hang on. The 4-year receiver out of Kansas, obviously disappointed with himself. He was going to be short of the first down there, but it appeared he had a bit of running room. But now, McAnally being called on to kick for the Bengals. Jitter Fields going back as the return man for New Orleans.
Gary, did you notice how the offense sort of perked up a little bit when Kenny Anderson went in? And this is that was the reason that Sam Weiss was putting him in to perk up the offense.
He completed the first pass, but the penalty negated the gain, and then they ended up in a hole, and now they're forced to punt. The Saints with a lot of men up on the line of scrimmage. McAnally has time. Jitter Fields from the 32. It's out close to the 42-yard line. Nice return on the part of Field. Jeff Shue on the special teams to make the tackle for Cincinnati. 44 yards on the punts. We have 7:50 left to play in the first half. It's still scoreless in New Orleans. 9-year veteran Richard Todd, his first full season with the New Orleans Saints, on the sidelines today watching Dave Wilson. Want to remind you at halftime, the AFL, remember, the war for the players. Very interesting series. 1st and 10 for the Saints as Wilson pump fakes. Now in trouble, steps up, fires, completes the pass across midfield. Eugene Goodlow, who had a touchdown catch, a spectacular one from Wilson last week, doing a fine job here, Harvey.
Yeah, Goodlow, they didn't think he would play because he had the flu last week. He just keeps moving. He keeps moving, and Wilson's looking for a receiver, and this is the guy that they like. This is the guy that they feel adds the flash to the wide receivers for the New Orleans Saints.
12-yard gain. Robert Jackson with the tackle as we watch the Saints come to the line of scrimmage now in Cincinnati territory once again. Saints have had opportunities, as have had the Bengals, but nobody's been able to cash in. Earl Campbell. Not much this time. Close to the 45-yard line. You saw him try to get the straight arm out there and pick up a little advantage and some running room, but Simpkins and Shue said no way.
That play was originally supposed to go over the middle. You saw Kobe Brenner just going across, and he trapped the nose guard. He went right in and trapped Crumrine, and Earl just broke it outside. There was a hole inside, though.
Look at those numbers. 73 touchdowns in his 7-year career. Earl Campbell got 1 yard that time, puts the ball at the 45. Bengals going to 4 down linemen and 5 defensive backs. 6.5 minutes to go first half. No score on the Superdome. Must-win ball game for the Cincinnati Bengals. Saints would like to even up their record at 500 before the year's out. Wayne Wilson has some room. Sutter steps his way down to the 40-yard line as he picks up 5. Kelvin Clark with a good block up front that time before Kemp and Jackson are there with the tackle.
New Orleans is pulling the offside offensive lineman and sending them around the corner to block on a counter play, and that's what that play was.
Tell you, that offensive line, we mentioned earlier the fact that they had just been racked with injuries. They have had so many injuries, and the number game that you can play relating to injuries is kind of interesting. They've missed 38 out of 70 starts among their offensive interior line starters.
That hurts any team.
They've been doing a good job thus far in this ball game. 3rd and 4. Wilson over the middle. Pass is caught at the 32-yard line. Wayne Wilson. No, it's not caught. I thought he had it. I beg your pardon. Incomplete. Reggie Williams along with Guy Frazier.
It's a low pass, Gary. It was a real low pass, but Wayne should have caught the ball. It was a catchable pass. It was a catchable pass. Oh, yeah. Oh, what? It just bounced out.
Rolled out. He was juggling as he hit the turf.
Just bounced out. He took it for granted.
So Brian Hansen, who comes from the NAIA school, Sioux Falls, the rookie, who once had a 91-yard punt as a college punter, being called on now, standing back at his own 46. He's averaging 39.5 yards in his 2 prior efforts.
Boy.
Oh, beautiful kick. It's going to be back there in the end zone for a touchback, but I mean, he nailed that one.
He's a pretty kid.
Like to see this young man with some room to just put on a little punting exhibition as we watch him come off on the near side. 5:21 left in the first half. Still looking for our first points on the board at the Superdome. Gumbo, the Saints mascot, performed. He knew he was going to be on camera, so he rolled over for us. Here's Alexander on camera at the 21-yard line. Reminder of great football coming up next weekend on NBC, Saturday and Sunday, final week of the regular season. Alexander picking up a couple of yards for the Bengals.
Talking to Sam Weiss earlier today, he was mentioning that if Boomer was having problems getting the Bengals up, getting some pep into the Bengals, or if he was having a bad day, that Kenny Anderson would play. When I talked to Kenny, and Kenny said, "I'm okay for an old man," I said, "All right, I'll take that."
5-time Pro Bowler Ken Anderson, 14-year veteran, wants to throw. Completes the pass at the 32, the 33-yard line. Steve Kreider on the receiving end as we check scores. Kansas City rolling against Seattle. That's a big one there. And St. Louis leading the New York Giants 14-7. A couple of very important ball games. Kansas City beat Seattle last week, so Kansas City coming to life in the late weeks of the season. 12 yards gain in the last play, moves the ball out to the 32-yard line. First down, actually close to the 33. Alexander right up the middle, and he's to the 39-yard line as the Bengals now starting to show a little bit of life.
But they're getting that Saints defense to flow a little bit, and the running backs are cutting right up in the middle where there's normally a hole when you get a defense that flows like that.
Linebacking core led by Paul, Kovac, and Lewis all jamming up in there. 6-yard gain puts the ball at the 39. 3:50 to play, first half.
Hey, Kenny Anderson just has a presence about him on the field.
Look at the stats here. -9 in the passing department. Alexander gets a couple of more. Working close to first down yardage. Charles Alexander from LSU. He was an All-American down here at LSU, so they know him in this city. First down for the Bengals. Checking Pittsburgh now. Cleveland has added another Matt Barr field goal. This one from 49 yards, so it's a 10-6 ball game now. Pittsburgh trying to get into the playoffs. Pittsburgh should stumble if they lose one, and the Bengals win this ball game and next weekend's against Buffalo. It would be Cincinnati in the playoffs. Anderson with a little traffic direction now completes the pass short of midfield. Stanford Jennings, number 36, out of the backfield, brought down by Dave Waymer across the way. Anderson taking charge that time. You could see him directing traffic, Harvey.
Yeah, he's pushing lineman back. The guys was backing up in his face. He pushed the lineman back and said, "Get back up to the line and block," and found his receiver. Waymer just made a real good open field tackle, though.
5-yard gain puts the ball at the 48-yard line.
I think the Bengals are real happy to see Kenny out on the field playing like that. He's the guy they look to for leadership, and it's important during this time that their leaders are playing.
Ball at the 48. It's been a month since he's seen any playing action. Alexander across the 50 to the 49-yard line in the grasp of Jim Kovac, the man they call Doc. Counting down toward the 2-minute mark now here in the first half. See the seconds tick away at the top of the screen. Play covered 3 yards. It'll be 3rd and 2 as we come down to that 2-minute mark. We still have no score here in the Superdome. The Bengals with the football, trying to get something before halftime. Down to the last 2 minutes here of the first half of a scoreless ball game. There's Jim Kovac. We were mentioning the fact that he's completed his medical studies at the University of Kentucky. Harvey, he's going to become a medical doctor.
Isn't that something to be able to take your head off on Sunday and put it back on for you Monday?
Soon hoping to pass his boards and begin an internship.
Diagnose an injury before it starts.
Dr. Jim. Anderson dumps the pass off to Alexander. Bumped out of bounds, close to first down yardage, and what a hit over there. Kovac and Winston were over there with the coverage. And Kovac really covered some ground. Let's take a look.
Dr. Jim was running. He had his man. That was his man. If you notice, he was looking right at him all the way. Oh. Dirk Winston really made a good lick on him.
Sure did. They brought the chains in to see whether or not it'll be close to a first down. Fans here in the Dome didn't like the spot on the football. They were quick to voice their disapproval. And we take a peek. You can just see the nose of the football there. First down for Cincinnati in New Orleans territory.
Spot did look a little off, but I'm not the official. I'm just talking about it.
Leading up to that play, New Orleans with 120 total yards of offense as opposed to 69 for Cincinnati. So the Saints have been moving the football. They committed a couple of turnovers. The Bengals couldn't capitalize. Now inside the 2-minute mark here in the first half, waiting to see whether or not the Bengals can come up with anything or not. So this must-win situation for their bullpen. Jennings trapped, and he'll be dropped. Stand for Jennings. Kovac and Paul. That right side linebacking core responding to the challenge and what is turning into a defensive struggle.
Dirk Winston was over there also.
Bob, Ahmad, Bill, and X, they'll keep us surprised in all the playoff possibilities, and the AFL remembered at halftime. Anderson with time down the middle completes the pass at the 35-yard line. Mike Martin, second-year receiver from Illinois, is there, and the clock continues to run. Now it's been stopped. Timeout has been called at the 35-yard line. 14-yard pickup. Gary came in to make the tackle on Martin. So we have 1:24 to go in the first half. A 10-play Cincinnati drive has now moved the football for the Bengals to the New Orleans 35-yard line. You see the timeout situation and time remaining here in this second quarter.
Anderson's experience is actually coming into play here. He's moved the Bengals right down into at least field goal range.
From the 35-yard line, here's Anderson back to throw again. Over the middle, Kreider has the ball at the 27-yard line. Kreider caught 6 balls last week. Picks up a reception here as they hustle back up. A gain of 8 makes it 2nd and 2. See if Anderson goes to the sideline. He's going to dump it off here on the side to Alexander. He'll run out of bounds. Looks like he has the first down inside the 25-yard line. Charles Alexander bumped out of bounds by Ricky Jackson. They pick up 3, but it's enough for the first down, and it stops the clock.
Like Kenny Anderson is a master at this in the 2-minute department. He throws the ball outside, and if the receiver gets the ball inside, he tries to run out of bounds to save the timeout. It's a very smart play.
Anderson, of course, who comes from Augustana. Saw yesterday that Augustana won, I believe it's the Division III championship for the 2nd consecutive year. Making the alums proud there. Charles Alexander that time with no place to go. Tony Elliott is in there. Tony Elliott, quite a story, as the nose tackle for the Saints. A man who is battling back, admittedly, from drug addiction, alcoholism. Has been playing well the last 2 weeks. Kreider at the 3-yard line loses the football. Can't hang on. Can you believe that? Steve Kreider on his back at the 2 or 3-yard line, and what a disappointment that one has to be.
But you can't really tell that Kenny Anderson's been out for over a month. A great move on Johnny Poe. Just broke wide open, turned Poe around. Had the ball.
Oh, my.
Had the ball.
Absolutely. Here's another look.
Oh, his knee. Blame it on his knee.
Just couldn't quite get possession, and it goes as an incompletion. 36 seconds left. 3rd down, 10. Anderson says, well, guys, we'll try it again from the 24. Good, strong New Orleans rush is picked up by the Bengals. Now he dumps it over the middle to Jennings. Jennings down at the 17-yard line. Ricky Jackson, who's been covering a lot of ground, is there, and a timeout has been called. That'll stop the clock. 28 seconds left to go. The Bengals with their best scoring opportunity of the afternoon. And there's Gene Barth right there on the field today, handling this officiating crew as we get set for the second field goal attempt of the afternoon by Jim Breach. This will be a 35-yarder. He missed from 50, just barely missed by 50, a little bit earlier. Drives this one cleanly through from 35 yards. Jim Breach has put the first points on the scoreboard today. A nice drive on the part of the Bengals as we see Breach being congratulated across the way, and it's now a 3-0 ball game. Cincinnati breaking out on top.
Kenny Anderson Esiason did a real good job moving the ball down the field. You see Bum Phillips here. I wonder what Bum's thinking. Maybe he'll put Earl in, or maybe he'll go for a touchdown, or maybe he'll try to get 3 points. We never know what's going through Bum's head.
Well, they've been able to move the football, but they find themselves trailing 3-zip. 63 yards, 15 plays, culminated by that field goal. And here's what it's all about right here. Pittsburgh at 7-7, playing Cleveland today, having to play the L.A. Raiders next week. Cincinnati, if they can win today and then beat Buffalo next week, coupled with a Pittsburgh loss, would put Cincinnati in the playoffs. Pittsburgh, however, right now is leading Cleveland. They've got to go against the Raiders, of course, next weekend. And that's going to be played out in Los Angeles.
I was talking to some of the Bengals this morning, and they are real aware of the problem that they have to win these 2 games, and the Steelers have to lose one of the last 2. They know about the chances.
Reach driving the kick. Anthony at the goal line, out to 1. Out to about the 22-yard line. Tyrone Anthony. He lost the football earlier, which gave the Bengals an opportunity. They couldn't capitalize at that time. Pete Koch with a tackle as we watch Anthony walk off, the rookie of the year for the Saints this year, and 18 seconds left to go.
Tyrone Anthony had those big thigh pads on. That's the reason he fumbled the last time. He's not used to carrying the ball with those thigh pads on.
Ball at the 23, first down. Take a look at Dave Wilson's numbers on the day, 5 for 12. And he's going to try to add to the numbers right now. Hokie Gajan has some running room. Picks up a block across the 40 and out of bounds at the 45-yard line. Kelvin Clark with the block. Bobby Kemp finally muscled Gajan out of bounds. Let's take another look, Harvey.
It's a screenplay. Hokie comes over and doesn't do a token job. He just stands there, looks like he's blocking. Screenplay, nice block. And he's downfield. He really turns the ball upfield with some kind of authority. And he comes into defensive backs and tries to run over him. That's why he's the MVP of the Saints. Guy's just tough.
23-yard gain, out of bounds, and now the Saints have elected to take a timeout. Hokie looks like he needs a bit of a breather there. He's breathing a little heavy after that jaunt down the near sidelines.
You know, Hokie,
they have 10 seconds left. This is a critical situation here because if they can get a quick, long gainer, there's the possibility, of course, of still getting a field goal or some other type of points on the board.
Right, it's important for New Orleans to do something before halftime. Any team psychologically does not like to go in at halftime behind, and this is a chance for them to at least tie the ball game up.
Sam White conferring there on his knees across the way. And an opportunity to watch both coaches on the sideline. Sam White had an excellent year. They got off to a terrible start when they lost those first 5 ball games. So they had a couple of games along the way that the Bengals feel like they definitely should have won. They played very well against San Francisco, ball club with the best record in the NFL. They let one get away against New England. But they've come on in recent weeks.
Look at Dave Wilson's right arm. If you see, he has a sleeve on that. He had it iced down yesterday after practice.
10 seconds to go in the half. Let's see what Wilson will do. Right down the middle. Brenner loses the football. The Bengals recover. If it was ruled a reception, I don't think it was. Nope. At the 40-yard line, he had it in the hands of Brenner, and Brenner couldn't hang on.
That's 2 Brenner couldn't hold on to today that were right in his hands.
It'll be a little disconcerting for a young quarterback because he put that one right where it needed to be, it appeared.
They did.
Timeout has been taken once again with the incompletion.
Big Hobie.
Hobie's shaking his head. Yeah.
Hobie's a little upset.
4-year player out of USC. Keep you up to date on all the activities here around the NFL in just a matter of moments. Bob Costas, Ahmad Rashad, Bill McAtee, and Pete Axtell.
I was talking about the sleeve on the right arm of Dave Wilson. The folks at home can see it down there. A lot of times, quarterbacks that pass a lot, if you're a right-handed quarterback, this is the arm that gets all the work. And after practice the other day at the Saints practice field, he had it all iced down. And a lot of people don't understand that a quarterback's arm, even though he's throwing the ball 50, 60 yards and 10-yard passes and stuff, it gets a big workout.
Well, the Bengals have got 6 defensive backs in the ball game now, as they're expecting that Wilson is going to throw it up here on the Hail Mary tradition of Duck Flutie. On the near side, being chased by Browner, and lets it go. At the goal line, it's a touchdown for the Saints. Hobie Brenner makes up for the drop. Can you believe it?
Hobie!
54 yards. Hobie Brenner on the Hail Mary takes it in from about the 1-yard line. And everyone on their feet in the Superdome as time has expired. Morton Anderson has come on for the conversion attempt. He nails it. And they love it in New Orleans. The Bengals will go to the locker room trailing after a 54-yard miracle pass. Let's take a look.
Well, in the tradition, as you said, of Hail Marys, here are 3 receivers going to the same area. There are some more coming down. All the defensive backs are around. Actually, Hobie just comes right in and takes the ball. Takes it away.
Tipped. Yeah, it was tipped.
It was tipped.
Brenner scores.
He takes the ball. He probably was still upset about missing those 2 clutch passes.
Here's another look. Keep an eye on Robert Jackson and Ray Horton now, the defensive backs. They're all right in there. But Brenner ends up with it. 54 yards, the touchdown. And the Saints have the lead at halftime. It's a 7-3 ball game. Off hopes of the Cincinnati Bengals may have been dim momentarily with a dramatic 54-yard Hail Mary pass that gives New Orleans the lead 7-3 as we go to NFL 84 in New York.
Hi again, everybody. Bob Costas back at our studios in New York along with Bill McAtee. What a wild conclusion to the half and the game you're watching. New Orleans and Cincinnati. We'll take another look at that play as well as run down all the rest of the scores for you in the National Football League. Beginning with a game of particular interest to Cincinnati fans. The Steelers are in front of the Browns 17-6 late in the second quarter. They have just scored a touchdown which puts Marty Schottenheimer's team down by 11. This is early action. No score in the first quarter and the Browns go with the fake. The snap going directly to the field goal kicker, Matt Barr. In he goes for the apparent touchdown, but a holding call brought it back. They settled for a field goal and a 3-0 lead, which was erased on this 61-yard beauty from Mark Malone to Lewis Lips. And for Lips, his 11th touchdown of the year. Malone was subsequently sacked and injured his jaw. Their backup quarterback, David Woodley, is also hurt. So in playing quarterback for them now is their 7th-round draft choice, rookie Scott Campbell out of Purdue. But he's got them in front, 17-6. Kansas City surprising Seattle. The score is 24-7. Earlier this year, Seattle won over Kansas City 45-0 at the Kingdome. That was the injured running back Dan Dorning. Here the flea flicker works. David Hughes tosses back to David Craig, and he hits Darrell Turner, the rookie out of Michigan State, for Craig his 30th touchdown pass of the season, and that erased an early 7-0 lead and evened it up at 7-7. But Scott Radisek comes back with an interception, runs it in for a touchdown. There he is celebrating in the end zone. And at that point, it was 17-7 Kansas City. Now it's Bill Kenny finding the veteran out of Missouri, Henry Marshall, with a 26-yard touchdown pass, building a 24-7 lead for Kansas City over Seattle. What an impact the Chiefs are having on the AFC West race. A week ago, they beat Denver, and today they might be on their way to an upset win against Seattle. The Cardinals have reached halftime at home against the Giants. 14-7 is the score on a pair of touchdown passes by Neil Lomax. He has 25 for the year as the Cards try and stay alive in the NFC East, and that particular division, the NFC East, has made life tough on the New England Patriots. They've lost their last 2 games to the Cowboys and the Cardinals, and they trail the Eagles in Philadelphia today, 17-10. Bill?
All right, Robert, Packers and the Bears. The Bears, of course, already Central Division champions. No score in what has been a defensive struggle. The only offense today provided by Walter Payton, who is approaching 100 yards in the first half, but again, the story there has been defense. No score. Miami and the Colts, this is a surprise. If the Dolphins win today and next week against Dallas, plus, they will have the home field advantage to the playoffs. But Don Shula watched the Colts dominate most of the first half. Indianapolis scored first. Mike Pagel, who had replaced Art Schleister, hooks up with Ray Butler, a 5-yard touchdown pass, but then Miami came back and tied it at 7. Woody Bennett goes in from 2 yards out, 7-7. Raul Alegre kicked a 52-yard field goal. Then late in the second quarter, Randy McMillan scored over the left side from 6 yards out. That's where we stand now. The score in Indianapolis is 17-7. Cincinnati and New Orleans. The Bengals want to keep the pressure on Pittsburgh and force the Steelers into a must-win situation next week against the Raiders. Boomer Esiason started for the Bengals, later replaced by Kenny Anderson. Most of the first half, neither team was able to generate much offense. Dave Wilson here is intercepted by number 59, Jeff Shue. The Bengals also had their problems. Second quarter, Kenny Anderson will be sacked coming up here by Ricky Jackson. Anderson, of course, fragile after suffering injuries most of the year. Jim Breach kicked a 35-yard field goal. Then the play just before the half, the Saints score on the Hail Mary pass. Wilson to Hobie Brenner, 54 yards out, jump ball. The Saints come up with it and lead it 7-3. Atlanta and Tampa Bay, two clubs obviously playing out the string. The Buccaneers lead it by a score of 10-6. Bob.
So the Dolphins, Bill, continue to have their troubles, struggling today with Indianapolis.
Yeah.
They have not played especially well the past few weeks. NFL 84 halftime activities will continue, so please stay with us.
Getting set to start second half activity in the Superdome. It'll be New Orleans kicking off to the Bengals. Mike Martin, Stanford Jennings, the deep spots. We take a look at the stats here for the first half. Total yards, the big advantage going to the Saints. Scores 54 of those yards. Actually 77 yards coming in the last 24 seconds of the half in 3 plays.
Right, they needed them too.
Underway as they drive the kick down the middle from the 5-yard line. Bengals bringing it out across the 20 to 22-yard line. There to make the tackle is Scott Pallure for the Saints. Cincinnati now in this must-win situation. It's time for them to get real serious now and see if they can move the football. They stuttered and sputtered throughout much of the first half. Anderson coming in, replacing Esiason, trying to get something going. First pass he completed, negated by a penalty. And then they continued to struggle. Ultimately ended up with a 35-yard Jim Breach field goal. Brooks. Brooks at the 24, 25-yard line, met head on by Whitney Paul along with Jim Wilkes. Take another look now at James Brooks as he comes out of the backfield.
That's Tony Elliott's down. Oh, my Dave Remington just runs right over Tony. I know Tony didn't want anybody to see that, but you know, it's a defensive lineman. That's where you're not supposed to ever be on your back.
He says, well, now we're ready to start the second half. Gain was only 3 yards. 2nd and 7, ball at the 25. Pass complete to Kreider at the 35-yard line. Dave Waymer over there to make the coverage. Good for the first down.
Let's look at Remington and Elliott here. Remington's strong. He's two-time Outland Trophy winner. The guy is just very strong. Tony, you just got to quit slapping him on the head and run past him.
Bengals very high on Dave Remington, the second-year player out of Nebraska.
Oh, he's probably one of the best centers around right now. Very strong guy. Just real strong upper body. Sort of reminds you of...
of old what's his name?
Okay,
for the look at the play. Alexander nailed. Tony Elliott is right in there. Let's take a look. Elliott wins this battle, it appears. We'll take another look inside.
Okay. Oh, he just throws him off. Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Whoa. Way to center up, Elliott. He just throws him off. Sort of reminds me of Mike Webster.
Now, you say he just throws him off casually. That man weighs 288 pounds that he threw down there. That's what's amazing about the beef we see in these inside lines.
Well, what happened was Remington was overcommitted, and they just threw him over there. When you're that big, you can't come back.
Anderson looking to throw. Completes the pass. Martin has the first down at the 47-yard line. Nice execution on the pass route by Mike Martin, second-year player from Illinois, as we watch him come back to the huddle. Martin only caught 4 balls coming into this contest. Run right there, moves it out near midfield.
Gary, talking about Remington again. what's happening when you're that big and that strong. If you overcommit to one side, a defensive lineman can step to the side, and you're so big and strong that you just fall off, and that's what happened 2 plays ago.
First and 10, Cincinnati. They trail 7-3, early second half. Anderson down the middle, completes the pass to Dave Verser. Verser in New Orleans territory at the 40-yard line, brought down by Russell Gary. It'll be enough for another first down. So Anderson going to work now. Playoff incentive, of course, money on the lines. We come down in this, the 15th of 16 weeks of NFL football, and only a select few will be able to continue after next week. The Bengals want to be in that group.
I was wondering what Cincinnati's approach would be coming out after halftime, especially with New Orleans scoring right before the half was over. It's right now it's just to get points on the board.
See the numbers for Anderson: 10 for 12. Alexander, and what a great surge up front. There's some good determined running down to the 30-yard line. Let's take a look at some of the interior blocking and the surge there as Alexander loved it.
Oh, Dave just did a reverse body block and got Tony Elliott to commit to one side, and Alexander just drove right through, carried lots of Saints with him. It had to be about 6 Saints over him.
8-yard pickup. Brian Blados leading that offensive surge from the left guard position that time. And some concern being expressed by the New Orleans fans. Alexander bottled up immediately by Jackson. Got only a yard to about the 29-yard line. Elliott also helping out on that tackle.
Yep, Tony's got his hands full, and he just stands up, Dave, at the line. The play was supposed to go to the other side. The running back just cut to the other side, and Remington's laying there going, man, you're supposed to be on my right side, not my left.
Tony Elliott made 7 tackles last week against the Rams as we update the Pittsburgh situation against Cleveland. Now 17-13 ball game, and Kansas City handling Seattle comfortably now. St. Louis leading the Giants at the half 14-7. Third down, short yardage. Kern in motion. Kennebrew, the big man. He'll be close to the first down. Looks like he should have it. There's the indication. First down for the Bengals.
Kennebrew is following in the footsteps of Pete Johnson. Big running back. Big 252 pounds. But I tell you, the Saints defense was up under him. They almost stopped him. They had a real good surge from the defensive line, and that's what you have to do on short yardage. You get up under the big offensive lineman, then you have a chance. They almost stopped him.
That's right. They needed just a foot or so, and that's about all they got. But they do have the first down. That's what's important for the Bengals and their fans at the 27-yard line now in New Orleans territory. Early third quarter. Anderson looking deep, has a man, pass complete, touchdown. From the backfield, James Brooks with an emphatic spike. And what a great effort on the part of James Brooks as he hauls it in for the score. 27 yards, and the Bengals are back on top, and those playoff hopes have been rekindled.
Kenny Anderson just stops back and just lays the ball out there, just showing the veteran he is, and Brooks showing all the talent. Excellent reception.
Oh, great stretch out. James Brooks with the reception for the touchdown into the end zone. Watch the pick now from the part of Kreider. Sets the little screen. Very effectively done, and that's what opened the door for Brooks. And the reaction from the teammates.
He just lulled everybody to sleep.
Reach on for the conversion attempt now. The kick right through the middle. And so the Cincinnati Bengals have come back and started the second half most impressively. They've marched down the field 78 yards, 9 plays. They now lead 10-7 in the Superdome.
Today's game is brought to you by Ram Tough Trucks and revolutionary new cars, Dodge and American Revolution. By Miller High Life, the best beer for the best time of the day. Welcome to Miller Time. And by IBM and the growing family of IBM personal computers.
Watching Jim Breach now put his foot to the football. And on the receiving end, well, this one will be out of bounds, and the penalty marker is down. So Breach will be kicking again after Anderson took his ball club the length of the field. 27-yard touchdown pass to a stretched out James Brooks. Brooks' second touchdown reception of the year, and the Bengals enjoying a lead now, 10-7. Anderson, 11 for 13, 115 yards since he took over for Boomer Esiason. Welcome back, Kenny Anderson.
Now you wonder what Cincinnati was thinking going in at halftime, wondering with New Orleans scoring the way it scored at the end of the half, Kenny Anderson, being the cool competitor he is, probably told the guys, hey, fellas, let's go right out and let's score, and let's play football, and let's win this. We have to win it. It's no next week. They have to win. And when you're in that situation on a football team, everybody, coaches, equipment people, everybody knows that you got to win. And it's important to the whole organization, especially the fans in Cincinnati, too.
And again, with Cleveland tightening things up against Pittsburgh, that's now a 17-13 ball game at our last report in favor of the Steelers. Keeping a close eye on that one. Jitterfield from the 15. Stays on his feet, gets out to the 29-yard line. A nice return. Don Simmons with the tackle. So we'll see now what will happen as the Saints try to answer back. 10-7 ball game. Just underway here in the third quarter of the Superdome. Crowd of some 53,000 expected today. Here are Wilson's numbers for the afternoon thus far. His touchdown pass, in the event you weren't with us, it was a Hail Mary effort, and it was a thing of beauty. As time expired, ending the first half, 54 yards, Hobie Brenner on the receiving end. First down, Saints from their own 29. Earl Campbell had 21 yards rushing first half, gets a couple of more out to the 32 before Bobby Kemp cuts him down.
Earl Campbell started the season in 1984 as the 9th most productive back in NFL history. And he hasn't had a chance to really run that much this season because of a preseason knee injury. And he hopes that it will be 100% next year so he can come back and get back to his 1,385-yard a year average.
That's right. 5 times he's been over 1,000 yards in 7 years.
It's an incredible average.
Second down and 7. Penalty marker down, movement in the line. Wilson with a football. Out to the 36 to 37-yard line. Let's check some scores now while they ravel out the penalty call. 17-13 as we indicated. Pittsburgh over Cleveland. Kansas City rolling against Seattle 24-7. Big ball game there. St. Louis on top of the Giants by a touchdown. Offside against Cincinnati. Philadelphia leading New England. New England trying to stay alive in the playoff chase, but down by a touchdown.
Offside.
Green
We'll
Bay leading Chicago at the half, 7-zip. Indianapolis, the big surprise thus far of this day, leading Miami. That's a third quarter score now, 17-7. Tampa Bay over Atlanta. The Falcons continue to struggle. Bringing you up to date on activity around the NFL. All the early games. Yesterday, of course, the New York Jets over the Buffalo Bills and the 49ers burying the Minnesota Vikings. Second down and 2. Ball at the 37-yard line now for New Orleans. John, boy, does he hit. He comes across the 40 to the 41-yard line, and you can hear those pads pop. Bobby Kemp was there. Hobie Brenner with a nice little block as we'll take another look at John, who really runs hard.
Boy, I like the way Okie runs the ball. Boy, he just runs real hard. He's a good upfield runner. Averages 6.6 yards. He puts his helmet in your stomach, and that's going to hurt tomorrow. I know that will hurt somebody tomorrow.
Bobby Kemp was on the receiving end of that helmet.
Yeah, well, Bobby will fill that helmet tomorrow morning early.
Ball at the 42. First down. Saints trail 10-7. Penalty marker down. Pass is complete at midfield and thrown back is Tyrone Young. Penalty marker, however, down. We'll take a look now as you watch those offensive linemen trying to protect the quarterback. You saw the reaction of Tyrone Young.
See the court's holding on. They're fighting.
Offense number 66, holding. Still first down.
Well, court, you still got him.
Louis Oubre, number 66, the one who is called for that penalty. And the ball moves back now close to the 32-yard line.
On our court feels he's starting center, and he's playing over the best defensive player for Cincinnati and Crumrod.
Steve Court's a 271-pounder. He was the captain of his high school hockey team. Can you imagine seeing 270 pounds on ice skates?
You know, he was mean.
Get checked into the boards with that. Probably didn't weigh 270 pounds in those days. Wilson looking deep. This one incomplete. Jeff Groth was the intended receiver. Ray Horton and Reggie Williams were down there, and I think Williams may have had a hand on the football first as one of the defenders. Watch Jeff Groth come back.
I think he just bounced off his hands.
Take a look and maybe we can tell.
See. No, just bounced right off his hands. Right in his hands. Worst place to hit a receiver.
Reggie Williams, number 57, the initial defender for the Bengals. 2nd and 20. Midway through the third quarter of the Superdome, a 10-7 ball game. 6 defensive backs in there now for the Bengals, anticipating Wilson going to the air. Wilson with some time. This one almost picked off by Kemp. The intended receiver was Young, but the pass was way over his head. Now Tyrone is 6'6", so that went up in the air. You look right into the eyes of Dave Wilson.
Well, Dave threw the ball off balance and across the field, which is dangerous to do for any quarterback. This is second start, and I feel he's maybe rushing a little bit. He really wants to show everybody what he can do. Earlier this week, Dave came out in the papers and said that he wanted to start. And we said before the game that he wanted to start. This 2 games left in the season. Why not give him some seasoning as a quarterback? Let him get some licks and things like that so he can know how to play.
Started 4 games in '81, started 2 games last year, had played in 3 games this season coming into this ball game, but this was his first start of 1984. Blitz by the Bengals. Wilson down at the 22-yard line. Eddie Edwards leading the defensive charge. His 8th sack of the year. 2nd sack of the afternoon for the Bengals.
You know, Dave Wilson was wanting to feel some licks, and now he got a lick right there from Eddie Edwards. This is what happens when you start and get a chance to play.
So a punting situation. Ryan Hansen, who earlier today with his punts was punting toward the end zone each time, now got a full field to deal with. He is capable of booting the beauty. Let's see what happens. Oh, and he got one, Harvey.
Oh, beautiful punt.
Backs him up to the 24-yard line. Martin gets out to the 37 before he's brought down. Mike Martin bringing it out with some impressive return statistics thus far this year. 54 yards from the line of scrimmage. Hansen gets some applause as he comes to the sideline. 10-7 in New Orleans. Now, as we started this third quarter, the Bengals came back impressively behind Kenny Anderson. They've got the football now. Do you think they'll try to protect this lead? Continue to play it a little conservative? What'll happen?
I think the smart thing for Cincinnati to do right now is score some more. They're in a race for their division, and they need to score.
Well, we'll see what Anderson can come up with now. He was most impressive on that last drive. 1st and 10, ball 37-yard line. He's going after some more points. Right down the middle, completes the pass. On the receiving end is Rodney Holman, the tight end at midfield. Terry Hogue with the tackle for the Saints. Boy, Anderson has been right there. His first action in a month after that shoulder injury suffered in the game against the Steelers. That one picks up 13 yards.
Well, I figured he'd come right out and say, let's score some more, because it's important for Cincinnati to score. With Pittsburgh playing the way it's playing, they hold their own future in their own hands. They have to score. They have to be important to them to win.
First down at midfield for the Bengals. Bengals leading this ball game 10-7. James Brooks doing some fancy footing here and gets himself a nice gain. Clear down to the 36-yard line. Picks up about 14 yards. Bruce Clark finally tripping him up. Brooks wanted to go left. Nothing there. Came back to the right side. Has a first down. And now in New Orleans territory.
Brooks has the ability, as most shifty running backs do. He's starting out to his left. He sees he can't go anywhere, and he just turns it around. He has great speed. Puts on some moves. Bruce Clark comes in and runs him down from behind, which a good defensive lineman should do anyway. If he hadn't have, James Brooks could have scored.
He also collided with the quarterback on the handoff from Anderson as we watch Stan White on the far sideline. Penalty markers and whistles all over the place. Didn't really get an opportunity to unravel that play. 6:15, third quarter.
No, I see a difference.
Ball start, the entire offensive line moved. The ball was never snapped. 5-yard penalty.
I see an entirely different Cincinnati Bengals ball club with Kenny Anderson playing.
I want to remind you now that this telecast is presented by authority of the National Football League, intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the New Orleans Saints and the National Football League is prohibited. At the 41-yard line, I believe we saw the score up there that St. Louis is even things, or is even now with the Giants. That's a 14-14 ball game. Anderson to throw again. Completes the pass. Holman once again out of bounds, this time at about the 32-yard line. Whitney Paul bumping him out of bounds. Rodney Holman hasn't caught a touchdown pass this year. He was the man who became a hero last week when he blocked that punt that set up the tackle-eligible play and all the dramatic activity in the last seconds against Cleveland.
Well, Rodney liked his name in the newspaper last week, and he told me to try to do something again today so he can get his name in the paper some more.
2nd and 5. Anderson driving his club again, and look at the numbers. Kenny Anderson has missed on only 2 attempts. Had one of them negated by a penalty. Looking deep. Out of bounds. Kreider, the intended receiver, at the 5-yard line. Johnny Poe with coverage deep.
You know, a lot of people know that Kenny Anderson was out for 4 weeks, and he's real sharp with his passes, and that was because it was his left shoulder that was hurt, not his throwing arm, which was a lucky break for Cincinnati.
But the Bengals also had problems this week working out. They got 7 inches of snow in the middle of the week, and it really interrupted their practice session and made things a little tough. And, of course, there were concerns after losing Turk Schoenert. They acquired Brian Clark, who was suited up and on the sidelines for emergency purposes today. Sam Weich and his crew were in a bit of a dilemma, but thus far, Anderson has responded brilliantly. Anderson completes another one at the 20-yard line, and being bumped down is Stanford Jennings. Ricky Jackson with the coverage. It'll be another first down, and the Bengals are marching toward more points.
Kenny Anderson's offensive line is doing an excellent job of blocking for him. If you notice, you see a lot of black jerseys run up to the line, and nobody gets to the backfield. Not even our Ricky Jackson. Ricky Jackson was on a pass coverage then, but on his blitzes, they're still keeping Ricky out.
14 yards gained on that play. Puts the ball at the 17. First down for Cincinnati. Bengals with a 10-7 lead. 27-yard touchdown pass from Anderson to Brooks, and a diving catch and a 35-yard Jim Breach field goal. But then the points for Cincinnati. Brooks tripped up this time. May have gained a half yard. That was about it. Not much to work with in that particular effort. Puts the ball close to the 15-yard line.
This is a drive that you have just as much passing as running, which keeps the Saints defense. They really don't know what's happening right now. You don't know if Kenny Anderson will run the ball in right now or pass the ball, which is a good position to be in if you're on an offense that's moving. If you're on defense, it's a bad position to be in because it's susceptible to any kind of play.
From the 15, 2nd down. Full blitz. They pick it up. Kreider making the turn down there, covered by Johnny Poe. Anderson had to kind of hurry a bit on that one because the Saints were coming.
They had a full blitz on that, and he really just threw the ball away. He knew no one was over there, and he just threw it away. Well, Anthony Munoz is just doing a good job. They're blocking 2 people over there on
Dennis Winston. Dirk Winston was the man who was uncontested as he came right through that giant hole on the blitz and forced Anderson to unload, one of the few times that he's been under any substantial pressure since he replaced Boomer Esiason.
We saw Johnny Poe a few minutes ago, and he's real important right now.
And a 3rd down situation, very important for the Bengals. Anderson down the middle. There it is. Stanford Jennings loses the football. It's a touchdown. He crossed the plane to the goal line. The official indication immediately. It'll go as a 15-yard touchdown pass to Stanford Jennings. Winston tried to cut him down underneath. He gave up the football, but once you cross the plane with the ball in possession, it's 6.
And that's exactly what happened. He crossed the plane with the ball stretched out and slammed it to the end zone. That's the only reason the ball came out. It was a touchdown.
Jennings being congratulated across the way. Breach is on for the conversion attempt. Trying to stretch the lead to 10 now for the Bengals. Rumble of discontent here among the New Orleans fans as we watch Jim Breach. He nails fouls it, and it's a 17-7 ball game. We'll take another look now as we have a touchdown play on the pass to Stanford Jennings, 15 yards.
We're getting some stunts in the defensive line. Bruce Clark almost gets to him. Kenny Anderson, a cool customer, just throws the ball to Stanford Jennings. Stanford comes in and scores.
The ball gets away, but it's still a touchdown, and the Bengals are on top by 10. Seattle trying to get on track today in Kansas City. They know they've got a big matchup coming up on a short week next Saturday against Denver. You'll see it on NBC Sports. Jim Breach with the kick. Anthony and Fields waiting for this one. It'll go through the end zone. It'll be brought back out to the 20-yard line. Let's take a look once again on that last touchdown play.
Watch Stanford come up. See, number 36, he comes in, he rolls around Tony Elliott, and he comes out. Now, that's how he got open for that touchdown play.
Well,
nobody
he had to
saw
work
him.
hard in there. He was really sandwiched for the moment.
But it's, you know, when teams do that, you can fool a linebacker because you think the linebacker is inside blocking or something.
That's right.
And if it's a pass, a play-action pass, which really throws the linebackers totally off.
Excellent pictures from our crew covering activities here as you see the numbers on the scoring drive. Anderson for the afternoon now 15 for 19. Here's Dave Wilson with a 7 for 17 day trying to answer back. Down by 10. Cranking up and going for a bundle. Has a man on the far side, Jeff Groth. And they rule he's out of bounds. He didn't get both feet down. Eugene Goodlow, I beg your pardon. It's called the wrong name over there. It was Eugene Goodlow. And let's take another look. You got to have both feet, of course, inside that stripe.
Eugene was concentrating. He's looking at the ball. Oh my, he caught the ball. Yep.
There doesn't appear to be much question there, but the man who makes the critical call across the way has made the call, and it stands as an incompletion. Okie guy Jean. I'll get you 5 or 6 yards out to the 26-yard line. As we go down to NFL 84 in New York, we'll update some other activity.
Gary and Harvey at the Hoosier Dome, the Dolphins took the second half kickoff and narrowed the gap on the Colts. Dan Marino with his 41st touchdown pass of the year. 2 yards to Nat Moore, who had possession. So it's 17-14 Colts.
So the Dolphins making it interesting against the Colts. We've had a personal foul indication here on a penalty at the Superdome, which is going to go against the Bengals. Gene Barth will unravel it for us, but it looks like it'll be a first down for the Saints.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, 34 defense, first down.
Louis Breeden, number 34, guilty of unnecessary roughness. So that mollifies the crowd here just a bit after they still thought that Eugene Goodlow made a good catch out there near midfield. And it certainly looked like it from what we were able to see on that replay.
Yeah, it did, Gary. A lot of times when you were a player, I know as I was a player, we'd have a play like that, and it was the judges, the side judges, and all would call a penalty to make everybody happy at home.
8 penalties, 60 yards against the Bengals thus far. Cincinnati leading 17-7 as Wilson fires down the middle. A strike at the 47-yard line. Goodlow with the reception, brought down by Reggie Williams and Ron Simpkins.
Well, going back to what I was saying about the refs calling a penalty after a big play or missing a play like that, a lot of times when you're a player, you're in the thinking that the referees want to quieten the crowd. And I figured that they were probably trying to quieten the crowd. We don't know right now.
Look at this. St. Louis now on top by a touchdown over the Giants in that battle in the NFC East. Crowd coming to life here in New Orleans. Earl Campbell trying to get that tough yardage, gets about 3 as he's up to midfield, maybe into Cincinnati territory, running off the right side of the line.
Earl Campbell coming from Houston in a trade for a number 1 had a very strange observation about being in New Orleans. He talked to Coach Phillips. Coach Phillips says, Earl, just come in here with us, get your knee back healthy, because Earl had knee surgery, and the way Earl runs, he was always injuring his knee in training camp. Coach Bob Phillips brought him to New Orleans and said, Earl, just take it easy a little bit, learn the system, come back next year and be Earl Campbell for us.
You see his stats coming into the ball game today. He has added approximately 30 yards or so, and now gets another quick 4 or 5. Campbell to the 45-yard line. Jackson and Kemp making the tackle on the big guy. Take a look at Earl, 6 carries on the day, and that'll put him up to roughly 30 yards, 29, 30 yards.
Oh, Earl fouled his block. He fouled his block right up the middle. He had a receiver in motion, blocked the guy over the center, and Earl just stuttered for a second and went right in the open hole. It's a good play.
At the 45-yard line now. Saints on the move in Cincinnati territory. 1st and 10. 2:42 left in the 3rd quarter. Dijon to the 42-yard line. Picks up a couple. Browner there to make the tackle for Cincinnati.
I really like the way Okie runs the football. He just runs it straight up the field. That has a lot to do with his NFL leading average per carry. That's any guy that runs like that, who has George Rogers in the backfield along with Earl Campbell in the backfield, and you are the MVP for your team, you're a pretty good ball player.
Done simple. They've got guys on Rogers, Campbell, Wayne Wilson when he's healthy can do quite a job too. So there are a lot of ways they can attack. John gets a few more inside the 40. Glenn Cameron, Ron Simpkins coming up out of there along with Reggie Williams. Just trying to show him pure muscle right now as we count down inside the 2-minute mark here in the 3rd quarter. You see Hokies numbers for the afternoon. Taking his time as he wanders back to the huddle, and Earl Campbell comes onto the field now, into the backfield. So Bum Phillips alternating. 3rd down, short yardage situation. They're going to need a couple for a 1st down to keep this march going.
This is the time Cincinnati's defense has to come alive. They have to stop them here.
John and Campbell now in the I formation. Hardy in motion. Dijon going to be close to the 1st down at the 35-yard line. Just brute strength right there. You're just watching defensive line going against offensive line.
You got a guy like Hokie running the football. He just lowers his head and goes. He had a good shot down here. Real good shot. From right. He's trying to work to the play. McCourt did a good job on it.
Louis Oubre also in there leading that charge as they see the chains come on now for this very important measurement. It'll be a 1st down.
Oubre's doing a real good job not knowing that he would start this week.
We talked about the line, offensive line, and the problems they've had with injuries. This is graphic evidence. Lafari missing 13 games. Edelman missed 5 along with Hilgenberg. Hilgenberg has been activated for this ball game. Oubre, Brock, who went out last week with a knee, is out for the season. It has been a very, very frustrating year for Bum Phillips and his staff with the offensive line injury problem. Good protection, looking deep. Hobie Brenner, touchdown for the Saints. Hobie Brenner had his frustrations in the 1st half. He dropped 2 balls, but he's made up for it now with his 2nd touchdown catch. This one 35 yards. Morton Anderson coming on for the conversion attempt, and we've got us a ball game here, Harvey Martin.
You're right. You got us a real good ball game. Hobie Brenner 6'5".
Anderson attempt. He nails it. So the Saints answer back 80 yards, 9 plays, taking up 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Let's take another look at this touchdown effort.
They got a blitz coming.
Here was the blitz.
Yep.
He got rid of it just in time.
Just in time.
And Brenner on the receiving end took it in for the score. 17-14 in New Orleans. Less than a minute to play in the Superdome. 17-14. There are the numbers now in the scoring drive for the Saints. 35-yard touchdown pass to Brenner. The 2nd of the afternoon for Wilson. Anderson's kick. Driven about 8 yards deep is Stanford Jennings, so they'll bring it out to the 20. It's a 17-14 ball game. We'll see what Cincinnati can come up with now when we return. Hopes of the Cincinnati Bengals being tested by the New Orleans Saints, who've come to life on a touchdown pass from Wilson to Brenner. And now the veteran Ken Anderson, who's had a couple of outstanding throws himself this afternoon, trying to answer back. Brooks with the football out to the 24-yard line. Quick pickup of 4 or 5 yards around the left side. Jim Kovac and Bruce Clark with the tackle. Counting down inside 30 seconds now, remaining here in the third quarter of a 17-14 ball game.
I think Kenny Anderson's experience has to come into play here. He's been here before. He really knows what he has to do to keep his Bengals in the game.
He's had a pair of scoring drives here in the third quarter. Completes the pass to Martin. Out of bounds, 33-yard line. Time having expired now, the final play of the third quarter. The score here in New Orleans now 17-14. The Cincinnati Bengals on top by 3.
Today's game is brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By Prudential-based Securities, where account executives provide total financial planning. And by Radio Shack, your Christmas electronics store.
Watching Stanford Jennings across the 40-yard line. Penalty marker down, however, on the play. Jennings getting a few there. And Gene Barth to give us the indication. Holding. Crowd during that break chanting defense. They want the Saints to hang on here. They'd like to see them get their hands in the football as we take a look at statistics through 3 quarters. Total yards.
Offense.
Virtually
Holding. Still first
absolutely
down.
even.
Let's look at the team, the situation of both teams here. You got the Saints who are out of the playoffs, and you got the Bengals who have a chance to win the Central Division. Right now, it's 2 different philosophies. The Saints, they got to play well. Next year's coming up. Guys want to keep their jobs. The Bengals, they want to get to the playoffs. They're 2 good incentives to play good football in fourth quarter.
James Brooks, goalie of the hold, that puts the ball back at the 25-yard line. Anderson looking for the far sideline, completes the pass at the 30-yard line. M.L. Harris bumped out of bounds by Ricky Jackson. Philadelphia by 3 over New England. That's a fourth quarter score. Green Bay and Chicago even at 7 in the third quarter. Miami now leading for the first time against Indianapolis 21-17. Dan Marino with a touchdown pass to Bruce Hardy, 2 yards. He's had a pair of 2-yarders, so the tally continues to mount for Dan Marino. That's number 42 on the year. A record-breaking season. We take a look at 14-year veteran wearing number 14, Ken Anderson. 2nd and 14. Anderson under pressure, but steps up, gets it off. Pass for Kreider at the 40. Almost caught. Great coverage downfield. Johnny Poe was there along with Frank Watlett. And Kreider went up between the 2 of them, and he had excellent concentration. Looked like as he watched the ball in, he might have a shot.
Watch that ball. It's going right there, and Johnny Poe just comes in at the right time. Johnny Poe made a real good play on that. Kenny Anderson had his receiver marked. The ball was headed for the receiver.
Let's check this. Pittsburgh still on top. They've added a Gary Anderson field goal of 23 yards. It's now 20-13. Steelers going for their 8th victory of the year. 3rd and 14 right now for the Bengals, who are trying to keep pace with them. Anderson fires. This one tipped a couple of times. 2 receivers had a shot at it. Anderson fired a bullet. Martin, the first intended receiver. Rodney Holman, almost downfield, had a chance at it. Didn't work out. Johnny Poe was there. And so, the Saints defense has apparently held. The Bengals will have to surrender the football.
Number 98, Reggie Lewis, was really coming around the right defensive end to put some pressure on Kenny Anderson, and that might have made him throw the ball a little early.
McAnally today, 3 punts. You see the average, 45 yards, the long 49. Line of scrimmage, the 30. He's standing back at his own 15. And he nails a good one. Jitterfield's backing up at the 20-yard line. Gets a block. No room now. And look at the way he's thrown down. Frank Watlett down there trying to do the job and provide some running room, but that wasn't the case. Leo Barker was downfield with a tackle. A 49-yard punt for McAnally. Just underway in the fourth quarter. It's a 17-14 ball game. Cincinnati with the advantage. Ball game got underway. Both ball clubs had a real tough time getting anything on the scoreboard, but it's a very entertaining contest right now.
Very entertaining. Cincinnati has the score, though. They have to keep the lead.
Dave Wilson has the football in his possession now for the New Orleans Saints. He's thrown a pair of touchdown passes to Hobie Brenner. He's trailing by 3 as they try to rally to the cause once again. 1st and 10 at the 21. George Rogers getting a couple the tough way. Eddie Edwards over there to make the tackle. And you see Cameron also coming up out of there. Crumry.
I wonder how George Rogers actually feels having a guy like Earl Campbell coming in for you, knowing that Earl's injured, knowing that Earl at any day can actually put you on the bench if he has a good season.
See Rogers' effort for the afternoon. 29 yards on those 6 carries. Nearly 5 yards a pop. Gain 3 on that last one makes it 2nd and 7.
George needs a long run.
Dijon down to the near side. Rogers with the pitch as the lone setback. Out to the 27-yard this time. Jeff Shue there to make the tackle. Also Eddie Edwards. Let's take a look at the blocking preceding that run.
A little hole in there if you saw, but it's good blocking. That's Louis Oubre coming around there, and he's made a good block for a guard, but there's a lot of holding going on too. You know, I'm a defensive lineman, and I believe
it sounds like a defensive lineman talking.
That's right.
Now,
you know, I believe there's holding on every play.
3rd down. The Saints need 3. Side penalty marker is down. Anthony close to 1st down yardage, stretched out, but there was a penalty marker, and the preliminary indication is holding against the Saints.
Yep. I think Eddie Edwards was coming inside. He made an inside move on the play and just got help. It was
Well, like you were saying, there's holding on every
I told
play,
you.
huh?
You know, Kelvin Clark reaches out and
Holding, 68 offense.
I mean,
There it is.
At least he left the number on the jersey. He was trying to take the 7 off the 73. I told you that's holding on every play.
Tie ball game now. The Giants have bounced back in the third quarter. Rob Carpenter going a yard for a touchdown to make it 21-21.
That's an important ball game.
Third down, 13 after the holding call. Saw it on Kelvin Clark. Clark has been one of those versatile people on the offensive line. He's played every position up and down that line at some point this season. 6 defensive backs now in the ball game for the Bengals. Wilson in trouble. There's Browner. The ball's loose. The Bengals have it. It's Edwards with a football at the 17-yard line.
Ross Browner made an excellent outside rush.
Let's take a look.
Eddie's working against Kelvin Clark here, and he's coming around. He got too hokey on him, and he catches the ball, an interception. Now, this is a surprise. As a defensive lineman, that's like Kennedy. That's better than a sack.
You watch the pressure coming from Ross Browner. He'll be behind the quarterback. There he is. Boom.
That's the best way to hit a quarterback.
Great pictures right there. Edwards
Beautiful
with the football, and the Bengals have themselves a golden opportunity right now to stretch it out. 17-14, Cincinnati with a 3-point lead. 12.5 minutes to go. The sack and the fumble gives the Bengals the ball now deep in New Orleans territory. Alexander inside the 15, straight ahead down close to the 12-yard line is Charles Alexander, getting a great surge from his offensive line, just blowing people back.
As Remington is just pushing him right back. Boy, that's perfect.
strength.
If you're a center at home, if you saw number 52 blocking Tony Elliott, then that's the way you're supposed to block.
288 pounds and great technique from the second-year man from Nebraska, working on nose tackle Tony Elliott at 280 pounds out of North Texas State. Anderson looking inside. Martin, the intended receiver, incomplete. Dave Waymer with fine coverage there. Anderson trying to get the quick one on that slant.
I'll tell you something, Gary. That Dave Remington is just an exceptional center. He was this in college also, 2-time Outland Trophy winner. You don't hear too many times where a guy is twice, junior, senior year, wins the Outland Trophy. And he comes into the pros and excels in the pros.
3rd and 3 from the 11.
Wilson with protection completes the pass. Martin again out of bounds at the 3-yard line. Mike Martin has the first down. Russell Gary muscled him out of bounds, but the Bengals had what they wanted. A first down closer to the goal line.
Now, this is the point where Cincinnati really needs to score. Kenny Anderson, the veteran he is, knows he has to go to the goal line. Martin just runs an out pattern and gets out of bounds also.
Martin broke his leg last year and had a fine start. That negated his season. Coming back, playing well in the late season for the Bengals. Straight ahead power. Alexander churning his way in there, trying to get a yard or two.
You know, I was talking to Coach Weiss before the game. He sends in the plays with signals, but his quarterbacks have the option of changing the protection at the line of scrimmage. You know, they really do not change the plays, but they do change the protection. And on a running play, I know Kenny Anderson, being the veteran he is, has a chance to change it if he would like to.
Now we're seeing something unusual here. Brian Blados, number 74, has moved out to a tight end position on the left side. Off to Kennebrew. They tried that left side, nothing going. Dennis Winston had that one diagnosed perfectly.
Well, the reason that didn't go anywhere is Blados didn't move off the ball fast enough. When you're in a goal line situation, you have to come off the ball, and he sort of is not used to that position, and he didn't come off the ball fast enough.
Russell Gary down underneath the bottom of that pile as well. Gary Smith is now in that interior line.
Watch Gary Smith, number 62. He checked in, and I think he checked in as a receiver. We'll have to see.
Smith takes up a position now at left guard.
Left guard.
Blados is out there as the tight end on the near side. Touchdown for the Bengals. Jennings gets in for the score. Stanford Jennings from a yard or so out. And the turnover, so very costly for the New Orleans Saints. And the Bengals and their fans breathe just a bit easier as Stanford Jennings gets his third 6-pointer of the campaign. Looking around the Superdome, you see the folks sitting back in their seats, and just a matter of minutes ago, they were all excited because their defense had held. So they had the football. But the turnover has made it a different story, possibly a different ball game as Breach attempts the conversion. Routine for Jim Breach. And so the Cincinnati Bengals stretch it out now. 24-14. They're back to a 10-point lead as we take a look at the touchdown run by Stanford Jennings. 18 yards, 6 plays, taking 2 minutes and 12 seconds. Here's Jennings again for the score. 61-year-old head coach of the Saints, Bum Phillips, wondering along the sideline what's in store for the final minutes of this contest and the rest of this season. As Breach takes the kick deep. Anthony from a couple of yards deep to the 23-yard line. I want to remind you now that coming up next Sunday, the final week of the NFL regular season on NBC, it'll be a doubleheader weekend. Featured games center around the AFC Central Division. Must win today for Cincinnati here. They'll take on the Buffalo Bills next week. And then a classic rivalry rekindled. The Steelers against the Raiders coming down to the wire. And, of course, NFL 84 with Bob Costas beginning the day. A look at the playoff picture, keeping you posted on all the scores around the league. Next Saturday on NBC, or next Sunday on NBC Sports. Of course, we do have the Saturday game as well. So a lot of football in the final weekend coming up. At the 24-yard line now. New Orleans once again trailing by 10. Wilson, quick pass out to Gajan. Oki breaks the one tackle out to the 39-yard line with that strong running style that the fans love here in New Orleans. Louis Breeden brought him down.
I like the way Oki runs the ball. He runs with authority, as Coach Tom Landry would say. So anytime he gets the ball, when he turns it upfield, he's getting some yards. Now watch him. He just turns it upfield, and you know this man is going to get some kind of yards. He just believes he can run through any defender, and that's the type of attitude you got to have if you're a running back.
15-yard gain. Louis Oubre again with a fine block outside that helped open the door. Gajan. Oki again. Still on his feet. And even when he's falling forward, he hits people hard. Out of the 44-yard line. Jeff Shue just kind of cut him down. 1:23 left to go in the ball game. 24-14 the score. And John, with that knowing smile as he comes off on the near sidelines after picking up 6 on that play. 2nd and 4.
I like a guy who smiles after he hits you. You never know what he's thinking.
Don't smile at me like that, Harvey. 2nd down. Inside handoff. Wilson with room to the 40-yard line. Fine effort there as Wayne Wilson just had a beautiful hole to drive through that time. Turf toe and all.
Tell you what they're doing. You see, Kimbrey just overcommitted to the left side, and then Wayne just ran right through the hole. It's nothing to explain. It was just a hole. You can drove your car through that hole. It was just
15 yards.
The nose guard just went to the wrong side.
Chris Ward went to one side, and Brad Edelman came back on the other, and they just opened it up.
I think Crumline just committed, and it was an open hole.
Dijon wants to throw the football. Now he's going to run with it. I think he was thinking pass, Harvey. It looked like the way he grabbed that football as he rolled out that he was going to go deep.
Well, I know he was thinking pass because Hokie does not slow up in the backfield when he gets the ball. When he gets parallel to the line, he runs. So it was a pass play.
Downfield, he had Tyrone Anthony, who is just now coming back into our picture and back into the huddle. So it'll be 2nd down and 8. Wilson's been all the way at quarterback in his first start of this season, playing for the 4th time this year. Threw 3 touchdown passes last week. In relief of Todd, he has 2 to his credit to Brenner this afternoon. Anthony in motion. Boom. Ball is loose. Up for grabs. Bengals have it. Eddie Edwards on top of the football.
I tell you, Eddie Edwards made a real good fumble recovery. Here's an interception, a fumble recovery. Just taking an inside rush.
The outside linebacker, Jeff Shue, was the man who made the hit. Edwards on top of the football, so the Saints have coughed it up again. Cincinnati with a 10-point lead. Number 73, Edwards, back there on the bench. He recovered the fumble. The turnovers have been a big part of this ball game as far as the Saints are concerned. Cincinnati leading by 10. Alexander across midfield to the 49-yard line before Clark brought him down. There have been 4 turnovers, and also the Bengals have come up with 4 sacks today. And once again, we want to give credit to the man who popped the ball loose. That was Jeff Shue, who hit Wilson before Edwards got on it.
Yeah, the Cincinnati Bengals are doing real well under Kenny Anderson, but talking about the New Orleans Saints, sometimes you get the feeling that there's an attitude problem, a winning attitude problem. You got guys like Ricky Jackson, who openly says he wants to leave New Orleans because the guys don't want to win all the time. It's got to hurt the ball club.
2nd down. Alexander, no place this time. Defense muscling up.
It's got to hurt. You look at a guy like Ricky Jackson, whose numbers up to 11 games. The guy out of 9 out of 11 in the first 11 games, he had a sack in each game, or he hasn't had a sack until today since then. And he says it's, as we see, Miami 28-17 over Indianapolis. We see that Ricky really is just, he just really doesn't want to play hard anymore. That's what he told me.
At the 49-yard line, incidentally, that was a Marino to Cephalo pass of 25 yards in the latest Miami touchdown as they stretch their lead against the Colts. Watching Ken Anderson step up in the pocket under heavy pressure, got the pass away. It's intended for Kreider, playing today for Collingsworth, who's injured. Anderson trying to duck under the pressure there. Will perhaps get another opportunity, Harvey, to take a look at his effort here to get away and complete that pass.
Now Kenny Anderson maybe trying to protect his shoulder.
Take a look at Kreider.
Oh, he's all alone right there.
Yeah, he never saw the ball. He didn't turn back. We had an opportunity. He didn't realize that there was heavy pressure, and so Anderson, for one of the few times, had to unload in a hurry. Punting situation now for Pat McAnally. Jeter Fields standing back, anticipating the kick now. 46-yard average today for McAnally, and he nails another one. This one deep into the end zone, as you can see. It'll be brought back out to the 20-yard line. 49 yards from the line of scrimmage. 5:44 left to go in this football game in New Orleans. Cincinnati keeping their playoff hopes alive with the advantage over the Saints. Otis Anderson with a 12-yard touchdown run has given St. Louis a 28-21 lead over the Giants as that battle continues in the NFC East. Here in the Superdome, Cincinnati in a must-win situation, leading New Orleans by 10, 24-14. Dave Wilson firing down the middle, completes the pass at the 41-yard line. Tyrone Young pulling it in before Louis Breeden could knock him down. And very quickly, Wilson has brought his ball club back. He's shown us on a couple of occasions today, Harvey. He's got the arm and he can do a job. Of course, who could forget how they scored dramatically there in the final play of the first half.
He's got the arm and he's got the leadership to maybe do something for the New Orleans Saints and maybe change Ricky Jackson's attitude about playing on defense.
Turnovers have been costly. There have been 3 fumbles and 1 interception, however. Here come the Bengals. They got a blitz. Pass is complete. Dijon, 50, 45, hit down to the 42-yard line, and he does it again.
I love the way Hokie runs.
Hokie Dijon, and they dearly love him down here as we'll take another look.
You see the receiver going down. The receivers aren't really known for blocking here. He should dance with it. I tell you, they should coach blocking to receivers.
Tyrone Young with the attempt there, and he turned the defender actually into Hokie. 5 receptions, 80 yards. You see the numbers, 17 yards coming on that last completion at the 41-yard line in Cincinnati territory. Down to 5 minutes and 2 seconds to go. In trouble, and down he goes once again, this time back at the 48-yard line. Guy Frazier on top of Wilson. 5th sack for the Cincinnati Bengals defense.
They're blitzing right now. Frazier comes in, they're just blitzing on him, and nobody is actually making an adjustment to pick up the blitzing linebackers. If they would do that, both backs were gone. When both backs, they only had one back at that time. When the back goes out of the backfield and they blitz, the quarterback's on his own.
Frazier made the initial contact. Crumry was the man who sealed it off. Pete Koch comes in now in that defensive alignment. 44 yards have been lost on those 5 sacks. Down the middle, pass complete at the 35-yard line. An excellent effort on the part of Eugene Goodlow. The ball started to jump out of his hands, but he was able to hang on. Simmons, the defender.
They thought Eugene wouldn't be able to play this game. Eugene was out, missed only one practice and a half because of the flu. Coming into the game and doing a good job. Good concentration on the ball.
And back up the field, the quarterback, Wilson, is down, apparently getting hit. The Bengals had a good, strong 4-man rush on that play. Hit as he released the football. Goodlow with a fine catch, but you can see now that Dave Wilson is in some discomfort.
Looks like he got the wind knocked out of him where the doctor's putting his hands.
And here on the sidelines, you see Richard Todd now starting to loosen up.
Richard Todd was replaced last week in the first half. With 10 minutes to go in the second quarter, he was replaced. Von Phillips was really not impressed with his performance last week anytime he threw him off the field.
Todd loosening up, continuing to stretch out while they administer to an injured Dave Wilson on the field. Cincinnati with 5 sacks already, and of course in an obvious passing situation they were just teeing off. And the hand you can hear in the background now is for Wilson, who comes walking off on the near sideline. Todd will go into the ball game. Wilson will come out, but he appears to be all right. Wilson for the day. And listen to the reception. Well, let's check this out now. A 20-20 ball game. Cleveland and Pittsburgh even in the 4th quarter. Richard Todd has hit close to 52% of his passes this year as we check out other scores. Comes in with a 3rd and 3 situation. The ball at the 34. Growth in motion. Todd with a little play action fake. He's in trouble. And for the 6th time, a New Orleans quarterback is down. Tim Crumry is in there to greet Richard Todd, and what a reception the veteran quarterback who spent so many years with the New York Jets, gets in his first appearance of the afternoon here in the Dome. Let's take another look.
Crumride just comes in the middle, just really goes back court. There's nothing for Richard Todd to do but duck. You can't blame that on Richard Todd.
And Bum Phillips has sent Wilson back into the ball game, and Todd has come to the near sidelines as we watch Crumry go out across the way.
They're talking about Richard Todd. He has one glaring statistic. He leads the NFL in interceptions with 19.
4th and 11. The ball back at the 42-yard line in Bengal territory. Wilson needs a bunch. Under pressure, gets the pass off. No chance downfield. We have an update, another activity in the NFL as we check that Pittsburgh-Cleveland activity. Let's go to our New York studios.
All right, Gary, here's the way Cleveland tied it up. They have about 8.5 minutes to play in the fourth quarter. Off the play fake, around the left side goes quarterback Paul McDonald with the PAT. It's even at 20. The Browns have never won at Three Rivers Stadium. 0-14 there. Gary?
Oh, the Browns have yet to win, but they're knocking on the door right now. A 20-20 ball game. Cincinnati doing what they have to do. They lead New Orleans by 10, and a lot of the Saints backers are headed for the exits here in the Superdome now as we're down to 3.5 minutes. They trail by 10. Anderson handing off to Alexander across the 45 to about the 47-yard line. We'll check some other scores around the league now, trying to keep you current on all the activity and the playoff possibilities. Philadelphia look like they have about sealed the fate of the New England Patriots. Fourth quarter score. Chicago on top of Green Bay by 1. The Bears, of course, are headed for the playoffs. Miami behind Marino has come back, opened up the lead over Indianapolis at the Hoosier Dome. And Tampa Bay extending the misery of the Atlanta Falcons. 23-6, fourth quarter.
Look, Gary, you talk about winning attitudes, and when you're in a city that's only had a 500-ball season only twice in the career of the team, it's kind of hard to have a winning attitude when you don't know what it's about.
Last year they were 8-8, their best record on 2 occasions. 500 football, as you indicated. Kenny Anderson's work after replacing Boomer Esiason, who played the first quarter for the Bengals and had problems with the offense, getting something going. Alexander once again. And now the Saints calling timeout after Winston made the tackle. Down by 10, realizing that it's still not impossible. And gracious, you can't forget what happened there with time expired at the end of the half. The 54-yard Hail Mary completion from Wilson to Hobie Brenner.
You know, early on I was talking about Ricky Jackson. The Saints defense is out again. You know, Ricky's comments were not that actually he didn't want to play hard. It's that he's a Pro Bowl performer. He came from a school that won a lot. He is not used to losing. And this, sometimes losing a lot works on a football player's mind. If you lose too much, you start to think you can't really win anymore. And that's bad. That's real bad. And that's what's happening here in New Orleans with the Saints.
Taking a look at Sam White across the way. He is the winningest of the first-year coaches in the National Football League. Appears to be on his way to victory number 7 of the season. Here's Jackson on the football field for the Saints.
That's Ricky. Ricky's probably one of the top linebackers in the league right now. He really is. He makes plays all over the field. He runs down most of his plays from behind.
He had 11 solo tackles last week against the Rams.
That's right. He's a superb talent.
Anderson today, 18 for 26, 191 yards. Trying to use some clock. Now in trouble. And Anderson goes down back at the 34-yard line. And there was Ricky Jackson back there. Yep. He heard you talking, Harvey.
Well, Ricky knows. I told Ricky, do something for me today so I can talk about you, Ricky.
Second sack by the Saints defensive crew.
That's good.
Timeout again has been called by New Orleans. They have 1 remaining. You see the time left in the ball game. We'll be updating all of the scores, the highlights on NFL 84 immediately after this contest here. Cincinnati doing what they have to do. As we indicated, they're staying alive. If they hang on for the win, they'll be 7-8. The Saints will fall to 6-9 under Bum Phillips, and Bum contemplating many things, we have to imagine now, as they look ahead to the upcoming draft. We mentioned the injuries in the offensive line. Probably some questions there relating to personnel and whether or not they'll be able to come back next season. Jitter Fields will be anticipating the punt from this man, McAnally. syndicated columnist, the songwriter, gets off another fine boot. Backfields up to the 14-yard line. There's the jitterbug right there. And he squeezes 4 or 5 yards out of it up close to the 20-yard line.
That's one thing about Jitter. Jitter can do the jitterbug, but he's got to do it going north and south. East and west, jitterbug doesn't gain any yards.
50 yards on that punt by McAnally. Simmons making the tackle. 24-14 is your score here in the Superdome now, as the Saints will try to get something going. They got back at one point, 17-14 ball game, but then a turnover led to Cincinnati's touchdown that stretched it back to 10.
I feel the New Orleans Saints offensive line sort of fell apart in the fourth quarter. Created a lot of sacks, not picking up blitzing linebackers and things like that. That put New Orleans in a problem.
Can you believe this Kansas City score over Seattle? Wow, 34-7 now. 2 weeks in a row, they have played some very impressive football. Here's Hokie Gajan, tripped up down at the 27-yard line. Reggie Williams just got a hand out there and helped bring him down.
He's the type of running back that every time he touches the ball, I hate to keep saying this, but he's exciting. You don't know what he'll do.
Time counting down toward the 2-minute mark. A 7-yard gain in that last play. Wilson firing deep. As Young completes the pass out of bounds at the 45-yard line. Bobby Kemp bumped him out. Tyrone Young, 6'6", stretching out that time to pull this one in as we take another look.
Yeah, Tyrone is just running. Gets right behind Breeden. He runs a real good route. Oh, good concentration on the ball, and he got his foot down before he got knocked out.
Bobby Kemp was known as the enforcer of the secondary, nailing him there with a pretty good hit on a play that covers 28 yards, puts the ball in Cincinnati territory. 2:03 to go, and of course the clock stopping as Young went out of bounds. Goodlow now goes to the far side as a split receiver. Young to the near side. Gajan the lone setback. Wilson backpedaling and now looking downfield. He's going for the end zone. Fires deep. Penalty marker down. Young, the intended receiver, had 2 defenders back there, and there was a lot of bumping going on. Jackson and Turner, the deep backs. And the indication now of offensive pass interference.
He knocked him off with his right arm.
Yep,
with his right arm.
The picture certainly supporting
excellent picture.
Evidence there.
Excellent picture.
So Young making the long walk back. The fans here in New Orleans thought that they had something going for them.
Offense number 89, 10-yard penalty.
You hear the call that moves the ball back into New Orleans territory at the 45. And now another one of those fantastic finishes coming your way as we reach the 2-minute warning. Cleveland Browns trying to do something they've never done before. As you heard Bob Costas mention, they have not won in Pittsburgh, but it's 2020 coming down to the wire. 3.5 minutes, less than 3.5 minutes to go in that ball game as we look at George Rogers.
Now, something's wrong. George Rogers should be playing more. I wonder why he's on the bench all the time.
From the 45, Anthony with a football. Across midfield. He's got some room to work. Down at the 34-yard line. Tyrone Anthony with a reception from Ryan. Browner down there to make the stop. Clock running, minute 40 and counting as we watch Anthony work his way back to the huddle. Wilson dumps it off to Anthony once again. Being chased, this time out of bounds at the 31.
Anthony's a pretty good receiver. He really does something with the ball when he gets it, too.
And look at this one now. St. Louis 31-21, a 34-yard Neil O'Donoghue field goal. Stretching it out, the Giants appear to be trouble in the NFC Eastern Division.
The Saints like to say that they're just switching backs, using Earl Campbell, using George Rogers, but I just haven't seen George enough today to actually really add any justice to that.
At the 30-yard line, they need 6 to keep this one going. Minute 25 left to go. Saints down by 10, trying to come up with a fantastic finish of their own. Pass complete at the 12-yard line. Eugene Goodlow. Reggie Williams knocking him down. And the Saints are hanging in. Clock running, getting down close now. It stopped at 1:13. And a timeout has been called. That is the last now for the Saints. Goodlow with his 4th reception of the afternoon. And, of course, you know, if they can come up with a touchdown, you know what's coming there.
Right. Hey, Wilson has really had a pretty good day throwing the ball. He's been on a terrific rush from the Bengals, but he's doing real good. Goodlow just pulled that ball
there that time. Jeff Groth was the other receiver downfield. Check the numbers now on Wilson. 18 for 30, 317 yards. That's not a half bad day's work. Only got 14 points on the scoreboard, which is a result of all those turnovers. 4 turnovers, 3 fumbles, 1 pass interception. There have been 5 or 6 Cincinnati sacks. Yep. All of those things combined have detracted somewhat from the 317 yards that Wilson has passing. There's the timeout situation remaining and the time.
Well, last week Wilson was asking everybody, like you said before the game, to let him play. And as you see, he really studied for this ball game. He really had to come make a showing because this was the first time he would really get a chance to make a showing.
Bengals going with 4 down linemen. All the rest of the players are defensive backs. Jean with a football. He'll get out of bounds and is there at the 8-yard line. Ray Griffin bumping him out of bounds.
That Hokie, once Hokie gets the ball, he just lowers his helmet. And watch him. He's coming out on the bottom part of your screen, folks, to your left. He gets the ball, and watch him. He just lowers his head. Boom.
He likes that contact, doesn't he?
I like Hokie.
He likes to hit. At the 8-yard line, getting out of bounds, stop the clock. 1:08, 2nd down. See the numbers now up to 320 yards. Kaijan has 7 receptions today for 90 yards. He's put in a very active afternoon. On the draw, Kaijan to the 5-yard line. Pete Koch was the man who got a hand in there and tripped him up because it looked as if the hole might be there. And the Saints going to have to hurry because the clock is running. Now it's 3rd down. The 2-minute warning has come up at Pittsburgh. There's a touchdown for the New Orleans Saints right over the middle. Eugene Goodlow on the quick slant in. That stops the clock, and that breathes new life into the Saints and their fans, and the Bengals are not out of the woods yet. It's a 24-20 ball game and an all-important conversion attempt coming up, and then you know it's going to be onside kick time.
Dave Wilson is doing an exceptional job in leading the Saints ball club. You know, he actually, with him throwing the ball, he actually has the Saints believing they can win the ball game, and you can feel it all the way in the press booth.
Well, that's 3 touchdown passes this week. He had 3 in the relief role last week. Anderson's conversion attempt is good. So it's 24-21. 49 seconds left to go. Let's take another look at that touchdown pass and the quick slant.
Slant in pattern, just right between 3 Bengals. Eugene Goodlow. They were afraid Eugene wouldn't play because of the flu.
He made such a spectacular stretching catch against the Rams last week. Has another one here. It's 24-21. 49 seconds to go. Goodlow comes over for a well-deserved breather. And the onside attempt will be coming up. And remember now, if the Saints get the football, they have no timeouts, but they also have some history on their side. Earlier today, that Hail Mary pass with no time left at the end of the first half, 54 yards for the touchdown, and it has to be on the mind of every one of these men now as you watch the Bengals come back onto the field. The hands team is out there.
Really, that's the onside team. As you look at James Brooks coming up on the front of the line, you know he's not up there to block. He's up to catch the ball.
Wilson 20 for 31, 325 yards, 3 touchdowns for the 2nd consecutive week. But right now it comes down to what we're about to see. Morton Anderson will try to squib the kick. Your ball game could be on the line. Here it is. Up for grabs. It's still free, and I believe the Saints have it. Penalty markers are down. It was fielded out of bounds, I believe.
They'll was enough Saints around the ball, but it just happened to be out of bounds.
Let's check in with Gene Barth. We'll hear his call.
Kick off out of bounds, 5-yard penalty, re-kick. Last touch by the kickers, re-kick.
There was only one problem with that play. All the Saints were looking at the ball instead of cutting down the two receivers. If they'd have cut the receivers down, they might still be running.
Rodney Lewis was the Saint who ended up with the football, but as you heard Barth say, he was out of bounds when he ended up with it. So now they'll try it again.
I think if the Saints had been more concerned with just knocking down the two guys on the side, they had enough Saints in the area to really get the ball.
There was a perfect kick on Anderson's part.
It was.
Look at the concern etched in the face of Sam White across the way. He wants a clarification on this situation.
Well, I think he's probably talking about, can we get possession right there? Probably what he's asking.
All right, here it comes again. And the Bengals have it. On top of the football is Rodney Holman, the man who blocked the punt last weekend. He figures in a possible victory here today with a very important grab on the second onside attempt. No timeouts left for the New Orleans Saints. The Cincinnati Bengals have the football. They have the lead by 3, and their playoff hopes still alive here in the Superdome. Last time, line drive on that onside attempt, whereas the first one had that nice high bounce. And of course, that high bounce was the one that the Bengals thought they had or the Saints thought they had a shot at.
Well, I wonder what Cincinnati will do here.
Anderson still on his feet, waiting, trying to eat up a couple of precious seconds, and then going down.
You know, every Monday when I was with the Dallas Cowboys, we'd see a play like this, and Coach Landry would call this play the worst play in professional football, and it really is.
No argument on our account, I'm sure.
You know that you're losing the ball game.
Yeah, Sam White breathing a little bit easier. That 10-point lead when you came down to it. Wilson driving the Saints for that late score, and then the onside attempt. And it was a beauty the first time, but the second time it didn't work out. Cincinnati in command at this point. Clock still running. We're down to the 10-second mark as of the moment. Anderson now kneeling again, and you watch the final seconds tick away. The Cincinnati Bengals go to 7-8. And of course, that all-important confrontation continuing up in Pittsburgh. A 7-7 record for the Steelers. Cincinnati now 7-8. Final score here in the Superdome. Touchdown passes being thrown by Kenny Anderson today as he comes in a relief role. You see Bum Phillips and Sam White exchanging greetings here now as the teams head off the field.
I wonder what Bum Phillips is thinking he should do right now. It's a very strange predicament he is in. He's got 3 excellent running backs. He should have a better ball club. I just think it needs an offseason, some more hard work, and a little bit more determination from all the ball players on the Saints to give him a good football team.
Promise on the part of Wilson, certainly in his role today. White knows that his team is still alive, pending the outcome of the Cleveland-Pittsburgh game. Our final here in New Orleans, 24-21. We're going to NFL 84 in New York after these messages.
A promotional fee has been paid to NBC by United Airlines. United's Royal Pacific service to the Far East. It's truly world-class.
To Pittsburgh, the Browns and Steelers are tied. It's late in the game. Here are Don Criqui and Bob Trumpy.
Gary Anderson ready to try what will be a game-winning field goal for the Steelers if he hits it. 8 seconds to play. Don Criqui with Bob Trumpy at Three Rivers Stadium. The game with the Cleveland Browns is tied at 20-all. It's on the way. It's good.
Nothing to it. Good snap by Webster. Excellent hold by Colquitt. It's a chip shot.
5 seconds left to go. So the Browns, who played their hearts out every down of this game, even though it was meaningless in their own playoff chances, which were gone long ago, now get one kick return. It'll probably be a squibber downfield as the Pittsburgh Steelers are about to extend their victory streak.
All right, thank you, Don Criqui. So, despite a valiant effort, unless the Browns pull off some kind of a miracle on the kickoff with 5 seconds to play, they will be 0-15 at Three River Stadium. They have never won there. Pittsburgh apparently will win 23-20. Cincinnati has already won today at New Orleans, and so Pittsburgh maintains a one-game lead, apparently. With 1 game left in the regular season for Pittsburgh, they must play the Raiders out in Los Angeles, while Cincinnati will be at home against Buffalo. So it's still a race in the AFC Central, as both clubs apparently have won today. Now, other scores. Kansas City is in front of Seattle in the 4th quarter at Kansas City, 34-7. What a shock for Chuck Knox's team, which defeated Kansas City 45-0 earlier this year. Now, this is one of the few plays that worked well for Seattle today. On the flea flicker, Dave Craig to Darrell Turner for Craig, his 30th touchdown pass of the season. And at that point, it was tied 7-7. But the Chiefs have had 6 interceptions today. One of them run in for a touchdown by Scott Radisek in the 2nd quarter. There it is.